Hello, hello. I just wanted to I just wanted to stream randomly tonight before going to bed. Oh god, I have so much junk in my desk. Garbage, garbage, garbage. I don't expect like a lot of people to show up. I just wanted to play some piano. I'm also eating some snacks. I have some milk and some buttered toast. I have a little cute Kirby in my lap. Cute Kirby plushie from a friend gifted me. Hello, hello. I was typing hello and it didn't show. Hello, hello. Hello, not doing any gaming or anything today. I just wanted to play some music and chat. Have a little Synthesia, little things going. I have a Synthesia basically on transparent Illumity, so only the light blue, only the actual colors show up, you know, not the background. I played the wrong note there. Oh god, my VTuber's gonna go crazy because I have my keyboard on like the right. Maybe I should move my keyboard. I should move my keyboard. Let's move it. Let's move it. I gotta make it perpendicular. I gotta make it parallel. I gotta make it flush. I gotta make it. Ugh. Well, come on, earbuds. Something fell over. Anyways. Ugh. Oh, my little microphone fell over. Recording. My singing microphone fell over. I have a little muffle box on the top of my singing microphone, my Shure, because I have like a little box over it that I fashioned and cut up to fit the to fit around, and then I put a comforter, a spare blanket I had over top, hanging over it, like little hanging garden. So what was that? A little paper towel roll have as supports inside, like little pillars to keep the box up. Anyways, that's my little recording booth, I guess. Ah! The comforter is a little too heavy though, I think. So I gotta get a lighter one. That's for later. That's too much work right now. We can't record right now anyways, it's too late. Okay. Let's make that overhang off. I think there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is still falling out, but whatever. I have a little snacks and food, guys. Oh, well, I'm far away now. Hopefully it's a little... Is it better now? Is it a little more... Let's see. Let's test it out. How is this? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to Minnie's Music Corner. Can you hear me and the music at the same time? I can't move my freaking chair up. I probably have my recording actually pretty low. Let's see. Open Audacity to change my... There we go. How about now? Is it a little better now? I had it on lower because I was recording with it before. Melodities. That's a funny thing. I should call a feature album Melodities. That would be really dumb. Sorry, I'm eating my toast. How have y'all been this week? What did y'all do this week? It's only Wednesday, but God, it feels like it's been... What a week, huh? What a week. Have some Chips Ahoy, too. Butter toast is so good. Funny art. I think I've seen some of that funny art. Some little bow wow going on. Some little, you know. Civil War. I hated it less than I expected it to. I mean, I haven't even seen a trailer, but it doesn't look good. I think I could write a better, like, Civil War kind of thing, you know? Like, what are the real political tensions in this world right now, you know? I think I could really, I think I have a pretty good perspective on these things. Wow, you say. It was pretty interesting. Alright, Spider-Man is in. I saw some people post like you know, webcam footage of them watching this new Spider-Man in theaters. That's cool. It wasn't even really about the Civil War, and it should have been even less about the Civil War. Wait, what? Really? So the Civil War is like the worst part? Maybe maybe they had a script for like, oh, it's supposed to be some kind of whatever, but there's also a Civil War going on. And I said, we need to make it all about the Civil War. We need to really capitalize on the political tensions, even though it wasn't really the focus anyways. Do you think it was that kind of production problem? Hello, Wiggler, Wiggler. I always think of the Wigglers from Super Mario 64. I watched like half of that new video. The videos that guy puts out, I don't know how he makes them so graphically interesting. I always just wish I wish I could make a music theory video like this, with this kind of like graphical, all the cool little fun graphics, making it really easy to visualize and explain everything. And it's like, wow. I wish that's how I think about music theory, but I don't have the visual skills. I don't have the video editing to actually make video essays, you know? Panda Koek, yeah, I don't know how he does it. For 4 hours of constant visuals. Sorry for the food ASMR. Something about the... Oh, let me finish eating. I'm so sorry. So what I really like about his videos is that, like, let's say he explains jumping into a out of bounds wall, and then jumping into a, look, I'm gonna be surrounded by out of bounds. There we go. Look, I'm surrounded. I'm bouncing. So what he really does is like so you're jumping into a out of bounds wall, but it like cancels your forward momentum, but still keeps the, you know, upwards momentum or whatever. So what he does, he has a little yellow arrow, right? But then to visualize it being canceled out, he like gets rid of the yellow, so it only leaves the outline. So that like visually represents, it's like the yellow is like the power of that arrow being canceled out, you know? So you really visualize that kind of way, you know? But with the redirectional walls, like the floors or whatever else, he just makes it like a green arrow going backwards, like it's sort of redirecting. So it's like, all right, you see the different colors visually representing the programming idea. So that's what I'm trying to do with my music theory charts, but you know, sometimes it gets a little difficult to really do it, you know. I'm working on a new chart, and I feel like, God, I don't have the room for all this. It's like supposed to show all the relative modes in order, like C major, C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian, you know, and it's always in that order. It's always in Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian thing. It doesn't matter where you start from. If you start, let's say, G Ionian, this is going to be G Ionian, you know. Then that's G Ionian. Then this one's going to be Aeolian. I mean Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. If let's say this is a major scale we're using. F sharp, then okay, this is Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. That it's always in that same order, right? So I'm really trying to visualize that and how to really show the importance of that kind of order, because it can help you. Because it's like, oh, I'm an Aeolian right now, but I'm kind of lost, you know, I don't know where everything else around me is. It's like, well, if I'm an Aeolian, I know this one's going to be Locrian. I know this one's going to be Mixolydian. I know this one's going to be Dorian. Like, it doesn't, like, it helps you out as like a roadmap sort of thing. So it's like, okay, that's great in my head. I don't really think about it. Like, I just play on guitar and play on piano, and I could immediately, like, I know where I am on the neck, wherever I am. Or on the fretboard, or on the keyboard. But it's really hard to really visualize that, whatever happens in your head in like a sort of color, you know, with colors or signs or signifiers or whatever. So that's like an interesting kind of job for me, you know, a little hobby. Honestly, I don't even know when I'll have the time to really do another music theory video. I mean, like, you know, I have like almost everything ready to go. I just don't really have the time for it. I don't really have the time for it. It will happen though. Modes part 2, relative lesson. Once you put parallel modes and relative modes put together, the whole world of music opens up to you. And then we'll add chords onto that. And that will show you, it's like each mode basically has its own little chord. This is a C major chord, Ionian. D Dorian has a minor chord called 2. Phrygian is the third note. So it has a minor. It's a minor because the third note is 4 notes away from the root, so it creates a minor third. So each like mode basically has a representative kind of chord as well. So let's say if you have a chord progression going like bum 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 da 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 da, like so something like that. It's like, well, you can also think about it as C Ionian. I mean, you can think of it as C F to G to C again. You can also think of it as 1 4 5 1 again, because it's so in C major scale 1 2 3 4 5. It's the 5th note, so you call them 1 4 5. You can also think of it as like C Ionian, F Lydian to G Mixolydian to C Ionian again. That's basically the same thing you're saying, you know? Because it's like, well, if I'm in here, what other notes can I play? Well, the Ionian notes, you know, it has a perfect 4th, it has the major 7th, it has all these kind of specific kind of things that are unique to Ionian. But then once we change to F Lydian here, you're not going to get the perfect 4th anymore, which would be this. Since in the C major we have this B note, even when we change to this chord, we still have to stick to that B note. So that's where we get the augmented 4th, which gives us the Lydian sound when we change to that chord progression. And when we do this, we have a perfect 4th again, but we have now a minor 7th, giving us a lot of spice in that. If we just play the isolated, it's really... There's actually that YYZ riff hidden in there, that really stressful riff hidden in this last chord because of the perfect 4th when you have the C and the major 3rd. All these kind of notes interact with each other. So every time you change chord progression, you're really changing the mode, you know? But certain modes are stronger than others. So even if you play on, like, let's say this, It kind of always goes back to C Ionian, because C Ionian is so much stronger than like almost all the others. There's certain modes that have more priority, you know, so even if you play them in sequence with one another, the most strongest mode will win out. The strongest chord will win out and will take over your ear, take over your brain and tell you that's the big one. That's the capital letter in this sentence, you know? Anyways, that was an impromptu music lesson. I wasn't supposed to do that. I was supposed to save it for the music theory. But anyways, why are the names of these modes so strange? They're all Greek. They're Greek. That's why. Now, the thing is, if you actually look at the actual old Greek names, there's like, they're not the same thing. There's like, they're different. The way they separated, the way the Greeks represented, like old classic Greeks, separated music, it was completely different, but it's the same kind of idea as I have kind of 4 notes and then another 4 notes, kind of, and you kind of can change each of those 4 kind of notes in different ways, like just, and then add it with another one, another thing. So think about like putting, I don't know, compound words or something like that. They didn't really have like chord progressions or anything like that, or all the kind of ideas that we have now. I really wanted to go into music history, because in music, understanding music history or music theory history really kind of help understand how all this kind of music can come together. But really, even if you look at the old Greek, like actual notes of music notes, whatever they had, whatever is like even available to read or anything anymore, it's still like kind of the same ideas we use today. They just had a different way of kind of writing it and kind of organizing it, you know? But really the idea that like all these names that we call like Ionian, Dorian, whatever, that's kind of a recent kind of development in the last, I don't know, like 300 years or something. You know, it's sort of like, okay, like we have all these notes going everywhere. How do we like make a sense of it? So actually a lot of my lessons will be about actually like making sense of it and realizing it's kind of a really, really cohesive system, a really effective system that all kind of fits together. It all came from trying to figure out, well, Locrian, you know, Locrian is such a weird scale because it doesn't really exist as a functional thing. And it's saying like, well, if you didn't have the Locrian, actually none of the others would work either. It kind of, they all work together, you know? But it's been like a long thing of like hundreds of years where, you know, music theorists like tried to like put together all these kind of different systems and realizing that these, there's some really interesting patterns that all fit together like a nice little jigsaw. She's making up all these Italian words, right? Represented with sauces, garlic, aioli, and some mixed sauce, a good mnemonic. Oh, maybe I should do food. Yeah, right. It's sort of like ingredients, you know? That's what I'm trying to talk about in intervals, like, you know? Like whenever you have a minor seventh in a thing, combining it with a major third, it's going to make a tritone. So maybe like you add sugar and spice, you know? This is a sugar note, this is a spice note, and when you add them together, you get a very particular ingredient. Maybe if you didn't have the sugar there, you had some pepper, you had this pepper interval instead, suddenly you don't have that really add that tension anymore. So it's nice, it's fine. This still has a kind of tense quality on its own, but without the sugar, it doesn't really have the same kick, you know? So the way intervals mixed with each other is super important, you know, and all intervals don't really stand on their own. You kind of need the extra, so at least one other extra note to really give it its character, you know? Intervals, notes don't stand on their own. Like if I play just a random note, this doesn't mean anything, you know? It's not really saying anything. But if I do like something like this, ooh, now, okay, this is something, you know? Now I know that something's going on here. A sweet and spicy minor seventh. When you make a good song, you could say you're cooking. You're true. You're right. So true. So true. I have an aesthetic library of sounds in my head, and it frustrates me so much that I can't communicate them. The reason, like, so I had so much music in my head as a kid, as a teenager. It was just like little riffs, little ideas, little things that would just play in my head for years. Hours and hours and hours of the day, I would just play these little tunes in my head. I mean, I would do that with the songs I really liked. I would just play it in my head before there was like CD players or anything like that. Like I would just have to memorize it to be able to listen to it in my head. The first song I did that with was the ending Super Mario Brothers 3 staff credit song as a little kid, because there was no way to listen to that song outside of beating the game. So it's such a beautiful melody, and as a little kid, it was like, oh my god, this is like beautiful. This isn't like some like shitty music on the radio or something, you know? Before there was CD players, I'm that old. Oh well, you know, before I had a CD player to like take to school or whatever. How do you learn about all this? I just like learned it myself. I'm all self-taught. I think like I took like 2 piano lessons that didn't go very well, and I took some like guitar for a little bit, but that was like just, again, like I already kind of knew everything, so that's definitely no theory stuff or anything. I'm in the market funny enough to get a CD player. I kind of want to get a CD player again, just so like, I want those kind of specific kind of air sounds and kind of CD skipping noises and weird things that you can only get with a CD. Sort of like, remember, I think Brian Eno said like the most memorable parts about technologies are their flaws. Their unique flaws, that's what people remember. So I kind of like want that for CD. I think like too much of like lo-fi sounds is in vinyl scratching and maybe like audio tape like things. But I think like there's some, you know, something to be found in the CD skipping, you know, when you're trying to like walk around with your CD player, it just fucking skips like awfully. But it's like a very specific sound, you know, you can't really get from anywhere else. Something about the medium. Oh, you still have your Sony one. I think I was saying something else, but I forgot, so whatever. Oh yeah, so I always had this music in my head, and it's like, well, I don't have an instrument. There was no music in the house, you know? There was some old broken Yamaha keyboard I would play sometimes, but it was broken for years, so... Then, you know, I got an electric guitar, so it was like, okay, I didn't really think about getting an electric guitar, but it's like, I'll learn this. I need to hear the music in my head. I need to hear it. I need to hear it in real life somehow. I need to play it, and make it real somehow. I still have my toast. I can't make it get too cold. You have to commit what do you listen to versus streaming. Oh no, of course. That's a huge thing. I mean, on a CD, you can only fit like, you know, 8 songs or something. And it's like, God, once I started getting into like progressive rock, I could fit like 2 songs on a CD. Like, it's like, oh, this sucks. It's definitely like limits you, but sometimes, you know, that could be, that can lead to some interesting possibilities. So anyways, I started learning guitar, then I got into the strokes and started learning like guitar riffs and just getting like good at the instrument and stuff. And then I started transcribing some songs. I started wanting to learn how songs worked, you know? How do people like write music? Why does these certain songs sound so good in these certain instances? Like, what are the notes doing in some cool way? There's some cool riffs in the strokes that kind of do that. Like, I don't know, some cool interlocking kind of riffs. with the dual guitars, it's sometimes like having like the dual lines going together. Like, I don't know, something like Red Light by the Strokes is pretty cool. Like, it's like sort of like little cool harmonies going on. But I think the stuff that actually got me like wanting to learn music was like video game music. So I started transcribing video game music, Kirby music, because this was the stuff that wasn't on like, you know, Ultimate Guitar or something. There was no tablature of this. Video game music before. This is like mid-2000s, you know. So I started just doing it myself. It's like, okay, I really want to know how these songs are written. So I started transcribing a whole bunch. And that's how I started to learn a lot about just like key signatures and the proper chord names, because you needed to, like, you know, the program I used was like a Guitar Pro kind of, it was like a Guitar Pro kind of thing. So I needed to like, you had to put the chord names, you had to like label everything correctly, you needed to get the right measures, you needed to, I needed to put the note, like, if I had like a little note line, I needed to make sure it was all the right rhythms, eighth notes, dotted eighth notes, half notes, whatever. So it fit in the measure and learn everything. So I was learning all that stuff on the go because I wanted to learn how these songs went. That's how I was able to see like horizontally, like when there's a bass note like low here on the notation or whatever, which I wrote in tablature, it was like 3 on my guitar. It's a 3 notes on the A string, and then it's like, okay, the melody is doing something like this, I don't know, or something. So I saw that like, okay, on the guitar that's like on a different string, and then like some like other instrument was going, it was doing that. So I was able to see, okay, all these notes are playing at the same time in a horizontal layer on this like notation, tablature notation. And I was able to see the notation as well. And it's like, okay, so this means it's in C major probably. And it's probably over like the C chord or something. And then I was slowly put everything together. It's like, okay, that's the perfect fifth of the thing. So it goes to the sixth to the sixth. So I slowly put it together like that. It was a lot about transcribing music that I liked on my own as a hobby, because I'm very strange. I feel that way about images instead of music. I'm almost always too lazy to draw, try to animate things, but sometimes I'll picture something in my head and feel stronger to make it actually visible. That's wonderful. I mean, I really wish I could draw, but I don't really have that same kind of thing with images. Like, I don't really have, there's been a few times where I really had like an image in my head and it's like, I wish I could draw this. Sometimes I would try to draw it like MS Paint or something, just to get like it right out, but I haven't really had that same thing as with music. Music was a lot stronger for me, so I had to feel like I had to manifest it into reality somehow. And then it's like, once you manifest it, it's like, oh, this doesn't really work. I gotta like work on this. And it's like, oh, okay, then you develop it, you know? Sometimes it's just a little riff I would be listening to for hours in my head while bored at school. And then once you actually learn all these tools, you figure out a billion different ways to develop those ideas in so much ways you would never have expected. There's this Black Sabbath box set coming out next month, and I'm debating whether to drop for CD or vinyl. I don't have a CD player. I don't have any disc player in my room. Best viewers of Okay, I should open up. Let's open up Twitch. Twitch.com, fellas. I'll ban this guy. How do I moderate it? Am I not? I have to click on the username. A Pepe Avi, really? Come on, buddy. Banned! You're banned! I'm trying to do a low tier god sort of thing. I'm kind of just playing whatever now. I had things I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, I've been watching some anime. Not a lot lately. What have I been watching lately? I've been watching, I watched like almost all of Shangri-La. That was a very cute little MMO show. Very well produced, very colorful. A lot of cute stuff going on with the little bunnies. It's not afraid to be a little cute, you know. There's also, I also like the monk girl character, the fighter tomboy character who's a guy player. That's cool. Been watching Witch and the Beast. That was pretty good. Witch and the Beast was pretty good. Music doesn't sound very low tier god. Yeah, it sounds a little too pretty, doesn't it? So I can't really watch the second season, I think. I haven't been keeping up with Hibiki. Thanks for always gassing up Heavenly Delusion. Last week and it was so peace, of course. Fave gender bend show I've seen. Thank you! Thank you! Oh my god, I'm so glad. I'm always gonna be gassing that up a lot. It's like the only, it's like, honestly, it's like one of the only good gender bend series out right now. Out for the last few years, maybe 10 years or something. God, it's been a total no man's land. It's been a no man's land. The whole genre has been like so bad for so long, and I feel like, oh my god, this is so good. And it premiered like what, 2018 or something. It's like 5-6 years old now. It's like, why didn't no one ever tell me about this? You know, not even the fans of the genre are like, you know, gassing it up. They're all fake fans. You know, they don't really get the essence, you know, of what the genre can offer. I wish, same with the Tokunoka. Tokunoka is so dead, you know? Like, Astolfo is like so old hat, you know? There's the new Saber. I love the new Saber in Fate Samurai. I've been watching Let's Plays of that just because it's so cool. But that doesn't really do the same, you know, it's not playing up the tropes like, you know, all the Tokonoko tropes just the same. It's doing it's in more fully ambiguous sort of stuff, which is a lot more interesting, honestly. Anything which just plays with anything a little more interesting is great. Rereading even Genshiken and the Daime was like so like wow. Hasn't always Chatter been the No Man's Land? Yeah, that's why I laughed. It was a little accidental pun. I wish Disney didn't license Heavenly Delusion. I'm too lazy to pirate it. I like name search the tags all the time, Japanese tags, and a lot more like Japanese viewers are like watching the series now. And really, this is why exclusivity exists, you know. It's awful, it's horrible. I wish it was a lot more popular, but people are going like, oh, I heard so much about Heavenly Delusion, you know, I even subbed to Disney Plus to watch it. And it's like, well, that's why. That's why. You know, just obviously, just pirate it. I don't care. Read the manga. Anyway, that's my anime reviews. Oh yeah, it was Witch and the Beast. Witch and the Beast is really interesting. It's a little oddly formatted. It's like all based on these like little mini arcs, you know, through the series, and you gradually learn more about the characters and the whole backstory. And then at the last like arc, then you finally get the flashback to like, oh, how did these two characters meet? And then you finally get the full thing. And then it ends, and it's obviously never going to be a season 2, and kind of sucks. But it's really nice. It's pretty well produced the whole time. It's all like adult characters. They're all like, you know, magical, basically magic police, sort of like Doctor Who going around this kind of Victorian kind of European settings with these fantasy, you know, just like doing solving magical crimes. It's like a magical procedural, sort of crime procedural with some kind of like gothic kind of spooky settings and stuff sometimes. It's a cool little aesthetic. It's cool. It's good not to see, like, you know, a bunch of shonen kind of stuff. I got really into Ragnar Crimson. And the first half was wonderful, but then the second half just turned into shonen. A lot of shonen shows, which, you know, I like shonen and all, but either stick with shonen from the beginning and don't devolve into it later, or like, you know, really sell it properly, you know, or have a little bit of a twist going on. Fortunately, Ragnar Crimson should have absolutely been about the main two characters interacting a lot more, because they're very interesting together. And then halfway through, they basically never show up on screen again together, and they never talk to each other. And it's like, this isn't what I signed up for, unfortunately. It still wasn't too bad, but you know, I'd watched only the first half. What else did I watch? Oh yeah, I watched From the Train at the End of the World, Train to the End of the World, Train from the End of the World, Train word End of the World, something like that. And it was okay. It was okay. It was really, really funny. I was watching it and I immediately went, sounds exactly like Joshiroku. And apparently he was like, I don't know, he was involved, the same person was involved with it, and that Shirobako, something else. And it's just that idea, you have a bunch of like cute girls all constantly talking to each other in a very kind of overwhelming way. They're all bantering, all very much constant dialogue. And I heard a lot of comments saying, oh, this is a lot like Heavenly Delusion. And it's like, not really. Not really. There's not really enough mood setting or kind of like a lot of sort of stuff like that. It's a lot of quirky comedic stuff, also with there's all that kind of nature science fiction taking over everything after a calamity, but it's kind of, the vibe is completely different, you know? Ranger Reject this season. Nah, I never even heard of it. Speaking of solving crimes, I started watching Columbo. Honestly, peak. I watched the first episode of that. It was really good. Again, the Steven Spielberg, I guess, produced episode. I should have just watched it more whenever, like, I'm eating lunch or something. I should have put on some Columbo. It's really cool that there's like these hour-long, you know, little murder mystery short stories, you know, just like available like that. There should be some stuff like that being made today, you know. I want Shonen Yuri. I only got to HD after grabbing Hulu for Sandland, so that exclusively point for real. See, it's like, that's why they do it. It doesn't work with consoles, because consoles are too freaking expensive. I don't know what fucking Square was thinking, tying both Final Fantasy 16 and Rebirth to PS5. Just like, you know, it's such a shame. But buy-ins for subscription, you know, is like $12 or something. So it's like a lot easier sell. So I don't like it. I wish everything would be on everything, but you know, it's sort of like, all right. I don't even think Heavenly Edition would have even been made without Disney, honestly, or some kind of exclusivity deal. I mean, because the manga sales are really, really low. They are not like a big seller. Maybe they're getting a little better now, but you know, I would do name searches of this series of Heavenly Delusion before, in Japanese and stuff. And there was like, you know, 2 people talking about a month or something. It was very, very, very small. So it's a lot bigger now. People are saying, oh, I gotta buy the whole box set, you know. The mangaka made a YouTube channel recently talking about some, like, he's being canceled by crazy feminist turfs in Japan. And he was saying, it's like, oh, I know a lot of people want to wait till the end to buy all the manga, but, you know, try to buy them now, okay? The manga is crazy. I don't know how the Ragnar Crimson anime holds up. Definitely like it for Crimson's conniving getting messed up. The fights are well drawn, but can get drawn out. That's a good thing, you know? That was my point. It's like, I like fights, but fights gotta last maybe 2 episodes at most for me, you know? Or it has to be a very obvious through line of like how to, like, I don't know, Shangri-La had a 4 episode long boss fight. The episodes were only like 20 minutes though. So like, you know, Shangri-La does a very smart thing where, it always plays the OP, so that's 1.5 minutes. Always plays the ED, that's another 1.5 minutes. So 3 minutes are saved in your 24-minute anime by pre-existing animation. It always has a little, almost like 3-minute, 4-minute little skit segment at the end. So there's always these extra little comedy segments, which are really, really easy to animate, that are kind of just cute little character moments. So really the episode is only going to be like 19 minutes long, and it's like, okay, that's where all the money can go into. So a fight like that, you know, that's great because it's just like one MMO boss fight and it's supposed to be multiple phases, so it makes sense. But that ending fight of Ragnar Crimson, that was like 7 episodes or something, you know, it just kept on going. And the little human soldiers that I didn't like at all, they just kept dying over and over, and they somehow kept... oh, they're back up again, then they die again, then they back up again. It's like, oh, come on, you know. I just want to see Ragnar and Crimson interact, a little seductive little twink interacting with the himbo kind of autistic guy. It's so funny. It's so funny seeing them interact, and it's like, I have to go like 10 episodes without them talking, you know. It's such a shame. And the first 12 episodes were a lot more. It was definitely shonen, but it felt more like, you know, it felt a little less fight heavy, so that's why I liked it so much. But too much fighting is just, you know, it's not my thing. I'm not really into like watching a 10 episode long fight where they keep get stringing out over and over and over again. You know, keep it short, keep it sweet. Little episodic arcs maybe. I can hear the Fujoshi particles in the frequency of your voice right now. Yeah, listen, it was so good. I love it. Crimson is so good. I was following that voice actor basically. Their first role as Rui in Gatchaman, also a fantastic role in anime. And they're doing this kind of role now for Crimson. Fantastic. Like, what, 10 years later? Amazing. I really wish they got more, like, lead roles like that. But they did do Hinata from Haikyuu, so... That's not that same kind of character, though, you know? It was really, really, really good. That was most of that was a Slow Graffiti by Belle and Sebastian. That's such a nice song. I wrote like a list of songs I wanted to play, but I can't find it. I have a bunch of notes on my mess of a desk, along with some like pencils. Oh, that's some music theory charts. I was writing music theory charts at work. All right, I really have to make that chart. I wrote this on paper like a crazy person. Where is it? I can't find any. Does anyone have any requests for songs? Also, I wanted to thank everyone for the donations. The car mechanic bill was so disappointing. It was so much, and it was like, all right. I just did my tires earlier that week too. It was like, all right. I was so exhausted, but and then the next time I drove it was the same thing, you know, same problem. So it was like, all right, well, I think I just gotta eat it, you know. I gotta just drive with it. It'll be fine, I guess. But I want to thank everyone for it anyways. It really saved my ass. Honestly. Oh, I can't. I won't say what kind of car I drive. That's too personal. What was that song? How it goes. So that song is very simple. It uses just 3 chords or 4 at the very end. This is on C Ionian. It goes. So you know it basically just uses a root, major third, the 5th, and the perfect 4th. You know. I have the arpeggios going wild in the background. It's really nice to go from the 3rd to the 5th. I do that in a lot of my songs. Like, what's another song? I wrote this other song for a friend that's like... Like, it's just nice, that kind of motion. It's really super, super, like, you know, it's used all the time in music because when you have the root chord, there's kind of the melody notes are always going to be focusing on the chord notes. So you can either do that, you can do that, or you can do, or that, you know. What is green greens? Like it is the same thing, the root going down to the 5th, or doing that, or you can go all the way up. So whenever you have the C major chord, you know, I like playing that. I'm playing Piranha Plant's melody, but that didn't use that, so whatever. Bad argument. Why is this bot outing me? Oh my god, thank you! Thank you, Forever and 2 Dust. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been so stressed lately because of everything, so honestly it helps me a lot. I feel like the only reason I even let myself stream today is because it's like, well, I'm going to bed soon, so I can't do too much work. I can't do too much, you know, everything, so, you know. Anyways, more song theory. So I'm just using the chord tones here, but then I go to this chord. Ooh, what's that? It's a A-B flat note chord, but now I can't use that major third from C anymore, so that's why I'm using this note. Because in this chord, it uses this note, which is the minor third of that. So it's instead of going to there, it actually goes from so I'm playing the 5th of that. So that's easy. That's easy. But how do I know to play that note over this, you know? What if it's that note, you know? This is one of the most difficult thing about learning music theory was like, well, all these kind of median chord shifts or kind of modulation shifts. Like if I'm playing like that to I don't know, this. So that's great. Like, you know, from that to that, you know, kind of, okay, I know I can play these notes, but then when I'm playing this note, it's like, all right, I know I can play these notes, but what about the other notes around it? What about all these other notes, you know? Can I still play this note? Can I play that note? Can I play that note? Or is that note, like, who knows, you know? It could be kind of anything. It was sort of confusing, and it's like, okay, well, it matters if this is, it's a major chord, but it could be any of the major modes. It could be an Ionian chord, it could be a Mixolydian chord, or it could be a Lydian chord. It can have, let's say, go from this to that, you know? It's like, well, is this a Mixolydian? Can I play the perfect fourth? Can I play the minor seventh? Is it a Lydian chord though? Does it have the augmented fourth? Does it have the major seventh? And then when I do this, like, well, is it the same? Like, what kind of major chord is it? It is a major chord, obviously, but like, is it Phrygian dominant maybe, or is it? It could be anything. It only tells you, the chord only tells you what notes of these to play. It doesn't tell you all the other notes. It only tells you 3 notes. So unless you add extra chord qualities, you don't know what other notes you can play, especially when you modulate. Like if you do that to that, it's easy to know all the other notes you can play. Like I know all, like, okay. And when I do this, I still know I can play all these other notes, all the white notes. And that, I know I can play all the white notes. But when you modulate to something like, I don't know, this, it's like, well, this is out of chord. We don't even have the C anymore. So it's like, okay, do I play that note? Do I play that note? Do I play that note? And it's like, well, that's when I realized, like, well, it really matters what kind of quality the chord has, you know? Like if I go to C major to A major, well, this can be any kind of A major. This could be a Lydian chord. I can do like, I wrote a song where it's C Lydian and then going to A Lydian. That sounds really nice. Like it doesn't really, like there's no rules when you modulate. You can actually make any chord, any kind of quality, any mode. You can make this into, let's say this into the G. Well, you can make this a G Lydian. It's not, there's no rules telling you you can't. You don't have to keep playing the C note. You can do, it sounds really awkward, but like you can do it. It's no rules telling you. So I really wanted to link, in my future lessons, I really want to link the idea of chords and modes together. Because a C major chord doesn't really tell you a whole lot. It only tells you 3 notes when I say C major. It doesn't really tell you, can you play the perfect fourth? Can you play the, it doesn't tell you anything but the fourths, the seconds, the sevenths, the sixths. It doesn't tell you anything. It only tells you 3 notes. So it's sort of like, well, if you know if it's a Lydian or not, or if it's a Mixolydian chord, and that helps you with the functions too, because it's like, well, in the podcast theme, it goes from that to that to that, and it's like, well, if you know that this is a 4 and this is a 5, which they are, and it's like, okay, then it's easy to know this is the Lydian chord, this is a Mixolydian chord, and this is an Ionian chord. Because what you're actually doing when you're playing that to that is actually you're modulating basically to E flat major, Ionian. That's the same progression as the dun 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 dun. It's 4 to 5 to 1, 4 5 1. It's the same kind of pattern. So since this is a Lydian to Mixolydian to Ionian, then this is also Mixolydian. I mean, a Lydian to Mixolydian to Ionian too. So it's sort of like, well, if I'm doing that to that to that, I know it's like, okay, Lydian, Mixolydian, Ionian. But it's like, well, actually, in the podcast theme, in the arpeggios, what I do is I actually make both of these kind of Lydian. I give both of them a major seventh. Let's see if I can play it. I add like a really big extensions to all of them. What would be the right one for this? There's some cool arpeggios in the background that actually suggest other kind of. There's a major sevenths in there. There's like I think a major second as well. So it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. I don't need to make this a Lydian and Mixolydian. I can make this a Lydian and a Lydian. I can make this a Mixolydian and a Mixolydian. You know. It's like, well, that gives them both of the idea of making every chord Mixolydian is blues. Like you can make this chord Mixolydian, this chord Mixolydian, this chord Mixolydian, and then Mixolydian again. So that whole idea of blues is basically modal. You're making everything Mixolydian with sometimes added extra like you can make a little, like you can add all sorts of extra little flavors with Mixolydian. So if you think about chords as basically representations of a mode, you can kind of just make every chord any kind of mode. So it's like when you play, so when I'm playing something like this is C Ionian. This is actually this G Mixolydian chord, and then I'm playing this as the A Ionian chord. Or you can also even think of it as C Ionian with added 6. Then we're back to the Mixolydian chord again. Then we're here, which is a Lydian chord, which means I could do the augmented fourth. I love that. Da, da, da. This is basically like the Lydian sound, like I always play like when I'm like, well, in the Pachelbel's canon chord progression. Mixolydian, Lydian. You know, I could play the little Lydian notes, you know, with the major seventh, the augmented fourth, the major third, all the things that you get from Lydian, and then you go back to Ionian. And then here you get to play Dorian a bit. So Dorian has a the minor third sound, but with the major 6. You don't get from any other minor chord. And then you get the Mixolydian again. And you can add a lot of flavor. You can add a lot to the Mixolydian. You can add the minor second. You can add the minor third to make it sort of bluesy. You can add all sorts of cool things to the Mixolydian. And then you can go back to Ionian. So if you think about chords as modes, then it gets kind of easy. Under what circumstances can I slam my forearm into the keyboard to play every note in the C Ionian scale? Jazz. There we go. This is a what? C13 chord. That's another thing. If you just extend all the chords. This is basically a chord. Like if a chord is 3 notes, you can add basically every single note, skipping a note, you do by thirds, just like you do with the first 3 notes. And that's basically, if you skip it again, you just reach C again, it just loops. So if you do it twice, basically, with every finger, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 7 unique notes. This is a C Ionian scale. That's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. In order, right? So you're just playing them kind of out of order, but it's basically a C Ionian scale. When it's like, well, if you want to make a C Lydian, there we go. We can think of this as a C Lydian chord. We're playing all the notes of the C Lydian. Or if you want to play a C Mixolydian chord, we basically do this. There we go. It's basically the Mixolydian chord, but it's a mode as a chord. So if you think about modes like that too, modes are chords, then it all gets very, it's complicated, but it's simple. I wonder what's, oh, hello, yes, sorry, I'm talking about modes. This is just supposed to be sort of chit-chatting about stuff. Not really a lesson. This isn't supposed to be a lesson, you know? This is a feature. This is all my knowledge I get to do in a little random way. What about chords that don't exactly correspond to a diatonic mode with the overall key? DMV or a V while playing in minor? Well, they have just alterations like harmonic minor. Those are kind of temporary kind of things. Those are very, very modal in that they're not really part of, they don't really have chord progressions technically. Fave melodic minor mode. Oh, I don't really have, honestly. Melodic minor, I haven't really looked into a lot of harmonic minor stuff. If it's not very functional, I'm not really super interested in it. Something like Phrygian dominant is really interesting, but it's not like I look at the Phrygian dominant modes. The most important ones are Phrygian dominant and harmonic minor, you know? The links between the two are super interesting. That's also a really big driving point for my wanting to give lessons, so I could teach about how cool the Phrygian dominant scale is and how that relates to the harmonic minor scale, because they're related. Just like C Ionian and G Mixolydian are related, so is the harmonic minor and Phrygian dominant. I'm not really interested, like, oh, what is F half diminished, secondary, augmented, Locrian mode? I don't care about any of those, really. All those kind of weird, awkward scales. Lydian dominant is a little interesting, but again, they don't have chord progressions, so they're very, very limited on what you can do with them. Lydian dominant is kind of interesting. It's just like you have normal Lydian, but you also have the minor seventh. But you can't do chord progressions with this. Like, you can't, like, it's that, and then it's what? D, you know, D augmented or something, then it's, you know, then another diminished chord, you know? It's like, it's sort of a very, situational. So the most important, like, alternate scales, I think, are just Phrygian dominant and harmonic minor, and then the pentatonics, I guess, or like diminished or whatever. But it's like, that point, it's sort of like, you know, whatever. I'm more interested in chord progressions, you know? That's what I'm really interested in. I really, really love chord progressions. And Phrygian, like, harmonic minor is basically like, let's say, yeah, you're playing a normal, let's say, A Aeolian. Then he played the D Dorian. And then you want to play the fifth. And that sounds very sad, but it's not quite intense, you know? The D Dorian again, but then you... There we go. So the idea of harmonic minor is just because you need the 5 chord to be a dominant Mixolydian chord. You're basically turning this into a Mixolydian, basically, or basically a Phrygian dominant. It's a Phrygian dominant and Mixolydian are basically the same idea. But then when you go back to the A, you're not really playing harmonic minor anymore. You're not really... You can obviously play this and thing, but you're also going to be playing this. You're not... harmonic minor isn't really like a mode like the others. It's a optional kind of transformation, temporary. It's not like you would like C, like, you know, you're not going to be playing the C augmented here. I was like, oh, well, I'm in the harmonic minor, I can't play the G. It's like, no, you're going to play the G, and then when you go to this, you're going to play the G sharp, you know? Like, it's a very situational kind of thing. It's not quite like modes, in the same way that all modes are kind of all linked to each other in this very interlocking jigsaw. Harmonic minor is sort of a very, it's like super, super useful, like little tweak you can do, you know? It's a bit like Haibane Renmei vines. That G sharp is spicy there. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a Beer Vito Kingdom. Wonderful ragtime. That's like super, super good. I'm pretty sure that was written by Hirokazu Endo. Master of good chord progressions. So that does use the augmented chord, you know. And so for this chord, sure, you might want to use a harmonic minor. Like you don't only want to play the C, the G there, obviously. It's not, you're kind of, you want that rising tension, you know. So, you know, it might be useful to know whatever the C augmented, the C mode of harmonic minor is, but you know. Especially for chords like that, like you don't want to use that. But again, in my head, I don't really need to think about it that hard. The kind of when you go dun, 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 that's such a super common progression. And so for that case, you do need to also know the Stairway to Heaven. Like, how do you solo over Stairway to Heaven? It's like, well, a guitar, like a standard, you know, amateur guitarist wouldn't be able to do that. They need to know. Or all the different possibilities when you do modulate, when you do have outside notes, you know? It's not just, you can't just, well, just play that note. It's like, you also have to know not to play that note. Or that's why I say it's like important to know the different intervals. I guess my little interval theory breaks with the fifth, because the fifth, sometimes you can't play the fifth or something, but hopefully my harmonic minor kind of lesson later will teach that. That's why I don't like the idea of, like, you know, sort of the fifth sometimes isn't a thing, because I kind of just wanted to make the fifth a very strong thing. If you understand why like diminished fifth is a thing, it's like once you understand Locrian and why Locrian is important, then it's sort of like, well, you know, the fifth is important because it's not available in Locrian, you know. Probably think of that chord before the F more like an E diminished. See, altered. Well, see, altered is interesting because altered doesn't really mean anything either. Altered is just like basically a Mixolydian chord that is anything. It has like it's any kind of, I think of it as any kind of dominant chord almost. It's any kind of, it's basically like you can combine almost any interval into it as long as it increases the tension, sort of. That's how I think of altered, at least. It's sort of just like, yeah, here's the dominant with some extra energy on top. C augmented is such an interesting little chord though. I really like that kind of thing too, when you had the C, with the dominant augmented into the one. Super cute when you have that sort of touch to it. The little, basically adds a little accidental, you know? And that sounds very classical. So it's like classical musicians used to do, sort of like. Like they used to do these kind of like, you know, alter little things all the time. And basically we turned that into, oh yeah, G augmented into that sort of thing. It's like they were kind of just playing with this kind of notes anyways. And they realized it sounded cute. So it's like, well, we turned them kind of into bigger chords with kind of understanding the kind of dynamics, other kind of notes you can play around with them. I'm kind of getting off track here. Yeah, Alders is like, let's make it as crunchy as possible. It's basically like the ultimate kind of blues kind of chords. That opens up so much possibilities too, because it's like, well, oh, I can add the minor second onto it. I can add this, I can add that, I can add anything basically. Like when you're... I basically think of, let's say, you know, let's bring the, you know, we play the harmonic minor, right? But it's like, well, what other notes do we play over this harmonic, this note? If I'm like singing a melody, do I just play the, like it's a major dominant going to the one, so it's like, well, do I play the mixolydian then? It's a major dominant, right? That might be a little awkward playing that major minor, that major second there, but maybe you don't really want that going from that. Like that may be a little too bright. You can obviously totally do that. It's super cool, but you know, you probably want to still play the other notes, and it's like, well, you probably want to still play that kind of note there, you know? There we go. Or like what other notes? Can we play the C? That's like the minor sixth to it. Ooh, okay, that sounds good. We can't play that too, you know, but maybe we should stick with the C. You know, or what about the seventh? What's the kind of seventh should this kind of harmonic minor kind of fifth chord have? Because again, if I'm playing like a melody like da 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 da, like I need to sing over it, I need a solo over it. It's like, well, do I do the major seventh? That can work. That sounds a little fitting. But how about if I do? Okay, that sounds quite a little more fitting. So now we have all the notes that we could play other than the first, third, and fifth. We have the minor. We have the minor second. We have, obviously, the A, hopefully the perfect fourth. Obviously, we have the perfect fifth because we're just playing it in the chord. We have the minor sixth and the minor seventh. So what is this? I played that very badly, but this is the Phrygian dominant chord scale mode. The time. I love the Phrygian dominance. It's very limited. You basically just have to play basically only two chords almost. And it resolves back to the one. It's Phrygian dominant is basically like an altered almost of any kind of Aeolian kind of tonic. It's a quick enclosure thing. I can see a C sharp working. Oh yeah, well, like, you know, even when you're on this, maybe you can make this Lydian, you know? you can do that, or a little weird little sort of a sudden kind of shift there. That would be kind of cool in like some kind of progressive or soundtrack song or any kind of thing, honestly. A pop song, you know. But basically, for the most part, you're probably going to be playing the Phrygian dominant over this, you know. And it's like, well, there's tons of songs in Phrygian dominant, like Innuendo by Queen or something, or a bunch of any kind of like dun, 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 dun. What? Advent of Babylon, Gates of Babylon by Rainbow or something. Like, it's such a common kind of like chord progression, melody thing. There's literally like traditional kind of music made in all around the world that uses the Phrygian dominant scale. It's like, well, it uses a major seventh, but it's basically the same thing. And it's like, well, this is all using that kind of idea of having all this tension built up. In the dominant energy, you have the tension, all these half notes. All these half notes together built onto each other. It's like the stacking of half notes. And it's like, well, that's just tension. That's like altered energy, you know, that's just Phrygian dominant energy. So it's like, it all comes from that harmonic minor anyways, which is basically just turning Aeolian into a functional mode, you know, a more functional thing. So, and, you know, Aeolian is kind of just like C major too. So you can kind of think everything as like just still going back to C major, you know? I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, what am I doing here? What does creep use? It uses the Phrygian dominant chord before going up to the thing. Then it uses this, which is basically another kind of Phrygian dominant kind of chord, the minor for subdominant. It uses that G sharp again. This G sharp is such an important note, you know? If it did that, you know, it would be a normal like, I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. You know, you can kind of just mix with these chord progressions all over the place if you understand kind of the modes going on. A lot of like guitarists, if they ask them to solo over or write a new melody over these chords, they can't do it because what notes can you play over this chord? Can I play this kind of note? No. Can I play whatever? And well, you just play the little Phrygian dominant, E Phrygian dominant, you know. Paint it black. Oh yeah, paint it black, sure. Anytime you want to sound Middle Eastern, you know, you just basically use a Phrygian dominant. And that kind of entire sound is basically the foundation of all basically classical Aeolian music, which uses like... friggin' Mozart song. It uses, you know, harmonic minor kind of normal thing. But really, if you think of like they could have done that, you know, that's Phrygian dominant kind of stuff. I think in the Beethoven song I just found, he uses the same kind of idea. And the thing is, the augmented second, it's a minor third. You don't need to be in a minor scale, first of all. You don't need to be in a minor scale. Phrygian dominant contained the Neapolitan chord. Yes, I'm pretty sure. The Neapolitan chord is literally just a minor second, a major chord built on the minor second. It's so simple, you know, like you did. Isn't that it? And look at this. What is this chord? It's so similar to the minor subdominant for C major 2. All these chords are linked, and look what note it uses too. It uses the G sharp note. And it's like, well, that's all linked. That's why I love playing with like the idea of those kind of stacking minor second kind of things. They're all like, well, those are such interesting little things. All these tensions built up because these are all half note apart, just like in Phrygian dominant you have half note, half note, half note, you know? I'm pretty sure what the intro of Rite of Spring is literally just like sort of those kind of two stacked major chords on top of each other. With an extra, I think one extra little seventh note or something. What is it? An E, I think it's basically this with, I think it's basically this. It's like basically two major chords a half step apart. If you really get like thing with it. And it's like that idea is so common. You get I think some like, that's another like two chords that are basically a half step apart, you know. It's basically playing with that same idea. There's everywhere in music, everywhere. So it's like, again, even in pop music or anything else. The idea of like two major chords stacked on top of each other, you know, stacked right next to each other. And well, it's really not so different from two major chords a half step apart. This is a Lydian sort of thing, or 4 and 5 to 1, or like in my podcast theme, same thing. When you have the two major chords a whole step apart, you get a whole different kind of style to it, and it's still just kind of the idea of those two chords. The Neapolitan that way. Yeah, it's really simple. Well, like, they had all their own rules for it. Like, it's supposed to be in a certain inversion. You're not supposed to play it like this to that. You're supposed to play it like a very specific, like this sort of like, some kind of very specific kind of inversions you're supposed to do. But who cares about inversions in the realm of bands and DAWs and stuff? I mean, obviously inversions are important, but like, I just think of it like that, you know. And the idea of tritone substitution. What is tritone substitution? It is literally, instead of playing the dominant, you're going to be playing the tritone away. What's the tritone away from the dominant chord? It's the minor second from the root. So it's literally just, okay, instead of playing the dominant, you're going to be playing this chord instead. So let's okay, then we're gonna do. That was a tritone substitution. Instead of playing, we played the D. Instead of playing this note, we were gonna play this note with that chord instead. Now, what does that do? It makes a very basic chromatic going down. So dum bum bum, very nice, very pleasant. I throw that in sometimes, but it's still just the Neapolitan kind of chord. It's still the same thing. The other thing in Neapolitan is that, well, you can play it instead of the subdominant. So let's play that. So that's when it's like Neapolitan, when you replace the subdominant with the minor second chord. And it's tritone substitution when you replace the dominant with it. So it's subdominant, dominant, root, tonic. So classical is, there we go. And jazz, it's that thing. It's just like, well, it's different order. It doesn't matter though. Who gives a shit? You just basically throw this in when you want to. And what happens when you play this and that? What are all these intervals added up? That note, that note, that note, that note. Phrygian dominant again. We got it. What is that? We got our little So think about that. It's also, we have two like major chords stacked a half step apart from each other, and then they can resolve to the harmonic minor, Phrygian. Basically, what is this? Subdominant. Subdominant to the major third, or the Phrygian dominant to the Aeolian again. And you can just make this. There we go. You can make this. That's basically doing the Neapolitan, you know, subdominant, whatever, to that as the Ionian. So all these things are linked together. So cool. So in such a cool way. And you could basically use these to transform to any other chord. I kind of throw that in at the end of the podcast theme, right? Like da 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 da. I kind of just throw it in because it's a cool little spice to it, you know? And the intro to Gusty Garden Galaxies. It goes like... Dun. Like it starts with it, but it has a little... Da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-bam-bam-bam-bam. Has a little guitarist to sound flamenco. Well, it starts with these two intro chords, which are the 4 and 5 of the E flat, right? Two major chords, a whole step apart, which means you can turn this into a major, which is basically, if this was Aeolian, right? That fits into C Aeolian, but then you basically turn this into the major. So it's a big triumphant thing, a very Mario theme as well, like. That's the theme from the Mario theme. Sorry, I'm not reading chat right now. And then what it's doing, it instantly turns this into a Phrygian dominant sort of thing. Instead of Ionian, we're only in an Ionian basically for a second doing this, and then we turn into like this whole Phrygian dominant sort of flamenco thing, which means we can turn this into a major chord. Flamenco is basically when you have 3 major chords in this pattern, you know? It's so cool. Like, that's a Florida flamenco thing, you know? You're basically like just going up into the minor for the Aeolian minor or whatever. Oh, I'm talking so much. I love music theory so much. It's so interesting. But see, I'm all about linking chord progressions together, basically. And I like modal kind of feels like this. I love it. I love this, like, no chord progression, just sort of harnessing the power of that kind of modal intervals over a static sort of thing. But I'm not really interested in the really 2 dissonant ones, like... This is sort of, it's too in between, you know. It's a little too unstable, you know. Let me read some messages. The augmented second. Doesn't Phrygian dominant contain a Neapolitan chord? Yes. That actually makes sense. I never thought of Neapolitan that way. I remember the podcast song. That was one of my best songs, honestly. I recorded that super quickly. Kind of like chromatic medians, but with seconds. Basically. Chromatic medians sort of like break theory a little bit, but basically if you just think like, okay, if I'm playing this, maybe I'm in Ionian, and then I play this, like okay, maybe this is Lydian, maybe this is Ionian, maybe this is Mixolydian, you know? Who knows? But you just get to decide. You get to choose whatever you want. But if it's something like that, then this is probably going to be Lydian, this is probably going to be Mixolydian, because it's you have that familiar pattern of major chord and a major chord 2 whole steps up, you know? I mean 1 whole step up. If it's something like the well, that's a little weirder, but you're probably in Phrygian dominant, you know, then this one's going to be that Lydian Phrygian dominant sort of thing. So once you recognize all these kind of patterns, it's really easy to understand what to play over them, you know? It's sort of like, oh, I'm in this, you know, I'm in this, and then I'm in this. Well, what other notes do I play? It's like, okay, you're probably gonna play, and then, oh, what other notes do I play? Do I still play this because I just played it before in that chord? Like, no, you're gonna play your Lydian notes, you know, here, because that's what's probably gonna be that's probably what's gonna work best, you know. I'm looking at chordal stuff. It's really fun for jamming over modal stuff. I like, I haven't looked too deeply into it. I like chordal chords, that sound of chordal chords, but it's really hard to understand chordal theory without, I'm still thinking in thirds, like, especially, like, you know, this is a chordal chord or something, you know, like. I don't know, like everything's going to be like a perfect fourth or augmented fourth or something. I haven't looked into it too deeply, or fifths, I guess. I still think of them as like, okay, I don't know, like this is going to be like a C, you know, add 2 or something, you know? Or... I think singing, well, that's adds, you know, sus4, you know. I'm still thinking of them as sort of sustained chords. I do like throwing them in sometimes, you know. I love the... I can't play it very well, but that's basically Tarkus starts with a chordal riff. It's like, this is one basically chordal chord. It's all of these fourths. And then it plays... That's, yeah, and then this is another chordal chord. You know, these are all fourths. So it's basically playing... And what's happening here is basically a half step up. You know, it's basically playing a chordal chord here, and then another. Then all the notes move a half step up. So you could basically. That's basically Tarkus, the intro. Now, in the top with the organ, he plays normal thirds, which is kind of interesting. You have this kind of chordal riff below, and then the top is just like he's playing some kind of bluesy kind of riff with the top thing. That's really cool, having a thirds with the fourths below. It starts to make sense once you think of each note getting more consonant when you're close to it on the circle of fifths. I don't really think about the circle of fifths, honestly. I never really understood the circle of fifths too much. Obviously I understand it, but I don't really think about circle of fifths. It goes minor when you go up the circle of fourths, and major if it goes up. See, I don't think about that either. I never really understood music in terms of circle of fifths or not, so it's sort of hard for me to really grasp it. It is useful for understanding, I guess, how much sharps or flats to put in like a notation, but I just the software did that for me, so I never really had to write that too much, you know. I sort of just understood the modes, so that's how I understood the sharps or flats or stuff. I don't really think about sharps or flats too much either. Like I don't really think, like when I'm in B major, I don't really think, oh, these are all sharps, these are all flats and stuff. I just think like the notes. Because I don't really write on notation, right? So it's hard for me to really think too much about the idea of sharps and flats. Obviously, like I know F sharp. Yeah, I'm playing an F sharp there. I'm playing a G flat there. Like I definitely know what I'm like playing, you know, but it's not the most instinctual thing for me. I guess, yeah, I pretty much stick with thirds, basically. I think about thirds a lot. I was really interested in harmonizing, you know? And modulating, I was really super interested in modulations. I was like fascinated with modulations. I think they're the most fascinating thing ever. When when songs would just like change key like that completely, but not just key, not just Ionian. It's like, oh, C Ionian changing to F Ionian. I'm more interested in a C Ionian changing to C Mixolydian, or C Lydian changing to something else, and then maybe changing to A flat, I don't know, A flat Lydian or something. Like weird stuff like that, more modal stuff, I guess, and not so much like F Ionian changes to like D minor changes to like, you know, like G minor, which I guess circle of fifth stuff is super, super important too. But it's like, I understood the fifths relationship already, because like, well, that's like the transitional chord. So it's like, obviously I understand like, okay, the fifths are kind of important. And I have my own thing about fifths as well. I'm really glad I got to talk about theory tonight with you guys. Thank you for humoring me. Talking about theory, Goose, so see, I'm a total nerd for it. And the thing is, like, you can use all this theory to paint wonderful pictures, musical pictures, and modes and moods and stuff. It's not just nerd stuff, you know? It's not like doing math. I'm joking. Music theory isn't like math, really. Like, nothing which I'm saying is like math, you know? It obviously uses math, but like colors use math, you know, the wavelengths or whatever. But it's sort of like, you know, that's not like painting using maths too much, you know. Obviously, again, composition, orderly kind of like, you know, organization stuff, obviously. But it's like, it's not just like numbers. Like I'm thinking about like, you know, when I learned theory stuff, it had very, very little to do with numbers or math or anything. It was more about colors, you know. It was more about how do you get that cool sound. Like that was it, you know. It wasn't about obviously there was memorization and stuff like that, but that's just normal, you know. Obviously if you really like something, it's not work, you know. What's your favorite chord progression? Oh god. I think people who say music theory is all math or just don't understand music theory or only know the basics. I know what David Bennett piano, I think like he was like musically, classically trained or something. He had like music theory classes and stuff. And he was like, there was like apparently just like one short little 10-minute lesson on modes. It's like, yeah, okay, here's a Dorian mode. Anyways, here's a Phrygian mode. Anyways, back to the other stuff. And it's sort of like, well, wait, what are all those things? You know, like, why aren't you covering them? You know, so that's why he like made his music theory channel, because he was just really fascinated by them, not being taken seriously in the same way, you know. So that's like not math. That's not like, you know, mathematical kind of stuff. Obviously it uses math, just like colors use math. But it's not, you know, that's not what the love of the thing is, really. I think mathematically it is super cool how all these things interlock with each other. Like I think the B Locrian mode, you know, what is this? You know, and what am I really playing here? Aren't I really playing a dominant chord? And aren't I really playing the G Mixolydian dominant chord? And then what can I do with the G dominant chord here? I can add the minor second here. I can turn this into a Phrygian dominant chord just like that. Maybe with added 6, maybe with this 6. Ooh. And go back to the Ionian. Like, there's so many things, like, well, you know, this is a Phrygian thing. Like, if I'm turning this into Phrygian dominant, then this is a Lydian, then this is a Mixolydian, then, you know, I go back to these sort of thing. Like, all these things, like, interact with each other in such a cool way. And that's, like, very mathematical, sure, but it's more about cool patterns, you know? My favorite chord progression is probably the classic. It's gonna be... It's gotta be that. It's gotta be the 4 to the 5 to the 1 to the 6, probably. I just love 4 to the 5, honestly. I could play this stuff forever. Well, see, that's the thing with this chord progression, is it's basically every chord progression. It's every chord progression built into one. Like, what is this? Piranha Plant melody. I gotta get back to work. I wanted to hop in and hi. Oh my god, Octo. Have a wonderful, wonderful time at work. I hope you had a nice time listening to me nerd out over music theory. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful time at work. Thank you for tuning in. So Goose, it's super cool. This, you can turn this chord progression into that, let's say this progression. It's the exact same thing, basically, because these two chords are so similar. The Phrygian and Ionian chords use almost the exact same notes. They're really, really similar. This chord is, I really love the Phrygian chord because it had so much tension. It had so much tension because it has the half note right above it, just like Locrian does. Phrygian is like the sister to Locrian, but more functional, you know? She has a job. She has a little, you know, edgy side to her, but she has a stable job, you know. And so even when you play something like this, there's also another beautiful chord progression. It almost, there's no motion to it at all. It's basically it's one of the most static chord progressions you can have, the Ionian to the Phrygian. But it's so dramatic because it doesn't move, you know. And again, it's not rules. I hate when people say music theory is like rules. It's more about if you play these two chords and understand what the tensions are and everything, you'll get this certain effect. And I love this kind of effect. You know, it's such a dramatic kind of feel, and you can make billion songs with that. It's so like potent. But it's like, well, what if you do? And then you go to this. Ooh, that's so nice. Oh, so nice. And then you go back to it, you know? And well, what if you do? Instead of E minor, you go to E major. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. It's you have that chord progression. All these things are so linked up to each other. But anyways, we were talking about that to that to that. This is a piranha plant melody. It's a so that's also like. So it's the same, like, it doesn't work as much, but it's the same idea, same kind of almost functions. And that kind of, obviously, if you reverse the chords, obviously it's the kind of 60s ballad progression. So if you just play them in different order, a billion different songs. You have what I think Live and Learn or something. You have I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? And what happens if we slow that down a bit more, start from the C? Ever seen the rain? What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that? Let's get to life and then go. And we can just keep going. This is the thing. We have to turn around here. Or Pocketbill's Canon. It's such a complicated melody to play, but so, that kind of progression, I love that chord progression. It's like almost baked into like a billion different songs, and it's basically, again, if you really look at it, it's basically like a 1-4-5. You can get rid of the Aeolian because this is kind of a similar thing to that, just like all these chords are very similar to each other. There's almost no motion going on when you switch between them. So if you really just cut out the minor, you really just have that. You know, everything, all these chord progressions are all linked to each other. Oh yeah, concepts are tied. That's a million songs. So all these songs are intrinsically linked to each other, you know? All these musics, all these kind of cool things. So you can just link, I kind of expanded that song. I could write that into like a longer version of the podcast song by having... I just turned that into a longer melody by just having the kind of different chord progressions, different little variations. Different little variations to go with the little chord progression underneath. You can there's so much with chord progressions and melodies that are not being done in a lot of modern music or a lot of music in general. Like think of all the cool video game music that could be made with these really simple ideas of chord progressions, you know? I'm just not hearing it. So that's why I'm really interested in being able to write video game music where I can do a lot of cool chord progressions and cool big melodies. I do have a video game project now, actually. I'm trying to work hard on it. It's supposed to not be a lot of chord progressions and stuff. It's supposed to be very moody and stuff. So it's like, all right, gotta make something really cool. I'm gonna use a lot of like Phrygian sounds and a lot of like moody Dorian stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of motifs. But see, yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah, I was playing the podcast theme. So the whole thing is like, my whole thing is motifs, reusing motifs and transforming motifs, little melodic ideas, little chord progressions, little riffs, and transforming them through all these ideas, through like different modes, through different chord progressions, through different, modulations and stuff, mini modulations even, you might say. So combining all these things together, and also a lot of like more sort of classical polyphony stuff going on, and different kind of song forms, and not just like, you know, I love like pop forms though a lot, but it's like, you know, like trying to have like cool harmonies and all kind of cool stuff going on. I feel like some pop bands kind of reached a kind of really big sort of mountain, or a little peak on the mountain, a smaller peak, but I feel like a lot of them didn't kind of fully carry the torch up the big hill, you know? Or like certain, you know, some artists tried and then, you know, stopped or something. So I kind of want to push the boundaries a little bit. And some artists are super good at playing with like modes, but they're not really good at playing with motifs, or like different kind of cool song forms. They're kind of only stuck in kind of one mode. Not literally the one mode, but you know, sometimes they're really good at playing with modes like Satriani or Vi or something. They're really good at it, but they don't really understand. They don't really experiment too much with other stuff. Vi does a lot of experimentation, so actually no. There's a lot of cool stuff with like one thing, but not another, and then another like maybe. You have some people who are really good at modulating from different things to others, but you're not really good at this other thing, you know? Or you have like some people who are super good at melody writing and stuff, but they're not really good at another thing, you know? So I kind of was like, well, there's all these kind of cool music stuff that you can do in music. It's like, well, how can I like combine all of them? Maybe that's a little too ambitious. But I want to try at least. It's a little difficult, you know? Or like some people are really good at textures. They're really good at textures and making just simple notes sound like amazing. They can make one note sound like super cool production stuff, but they're not really good at like just making some nice chord progressions or stuff like that, or writing melodies or something. A lot of like soundtrack music is just kind of texture stuff now, but that's not really the stuff I'm talking about, you know. That's kind of extra. They like, first you write the notes, then you think about how to make them sound gooder later, you know. You get the composition, then you think about the colors, sort of thing. Sometimes a cool texture, like you get a really good color, and then you think about how you can use that musically or compositionally. So that's really cool, but if you only have a few compositional tools, even the best texture in the world will sound really... It'll just be a little cheap novelty. Like you have a cool instrument sound, notes from some old instrument or something, but you can only play a really simple guitar lick on it. It's sort of like, well, it's kind of okay. You kind of just played like a little melody, you know, on like guitar instead. It's like, all right, but it's like, you know, what can you really do with that, you know, musically? You can kind of do good music on any instrument, you know. On a little toy xylophone, you can do cool little music, melodic motifs and stuff. Many mins. Oh yeah, like another thing, like when you play like the... this kind of melody, let's say in Super Mario Brothers, like. It's the same, same chord progressions. You're having Ionian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Mixolydian, Lydian, kind of Phrygian, Dorian, to Mixolydian again. And you can kind of exchange almost all of these other chords for basically just Ionian and Mixolydian if you really, really want to, if you really stretch it, and maybe the subdominant too. It's kind of funny. You can kind of reduce all these musical ideas to really simple forms, but then also expand on them too. So you can do that with a single song. You can do like. I took that little like I could take the really simple form. It's like a really simplistic way of playing that same kind of melody. Instead of I kind of shortened it, truncated it, but it's the same kind of functions I'm playing with. But I'm playing the same kind of melodies, so it's like, you know, sort of referencing. I can make like this the intro, like the intro title screen to the Super Mario Brothers 64, Super Mario 64. I can make like. I don't know, I could reference that. I can reference this little melody in the beginning, and then in the ending you get the big chorus. It'll be like. And it's like, oh, it's so triumphant. You get that little revisiting feeling. You can't really get that if you just play the exact same melody over the exact same chords. It's kind of cheap, you know. That's kind of just recycling. What if you do that over like different chord progressions, you know? Something like that. Maybe look, it's almost a piranha plant melody. It's like. You know, well, how about with what if the piranha plant melody did this? What if it did that instead? And it's like. And it's like a nice little piranha plant melody. Then when you get to the ending credits, it's playing the. And it's like, oh, maybe like. There's like a piranha plant was sleeping to a nice dream, and then at the end of the game, you have like this big theme. You know, you can have that melody appear in a ton of places, maybe in any kind of like the Stargate, like something like that. You know, you always have it kind of coming back again, or you have that. How about that? You have the Mario kind of chords that always appear. What if you do that kind of thing and you have that kind of motif? You know? Or how about you not even use the third to the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth? That's how I think about melodies. I think about the intervals. But what if you change that kind of pattern, the contour? How about you change it to a different note? How about this? You can write that kind of melody in the song, like that'll be like the Bob on Battlefield theme or something. Instead of the intro to Bob on Battlefield actually a little bit has the same contour. Maybe it's the same melody. I don't think it's the same melody, but like it would be really, really cool if like maybe Super Mario 64 like the important themes would reference that kind of melody from from the ending song. And that's just one example. There's a billion different themes in the game they could all kind of reference into each other. And all the level themes do use the same chord progression. They all use like... I think they all use that kind of same chord progression, like da 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 da. Use the same chord progression. That's not really too. That's kind of cool, but it's. I think like he could have done more with that. You know, that would have been really cool. I think like almost all video game, you can make almost all video game OSTs be written like this. You know, it's so economical. You can play with different modes. You can make it. I don't know. That's a Lydian. You can turn it into the Lydian. You can do a little cool little melody. So there's so many melodies you can add in different chord progressions using these same kind of little motific ideas, you know? And I think even pop music should be written like this. I think like just like why aren't bands just writing sort of like this? You know, you can have your whole album be basically kind of variations on these different little melodic ideas. Like why not? It's really easy. It's kind of easy to just take a little melody and just like put it under different chords, turn it into different modes, transform it into different kind of contexts and stuff. But it's not just playing the same melody over the exact same chords. Like it's a lot of like rock operas or like, you know, concept albums, they kind of just do reprisals, which I don't like. They kind of just replay the exact same verse as or chorus as an earlier song or part of the thing. It's like that's kind of cheap. You're supposed to transform these things, you know? Like a character in the beginning of a movie isn't going to be exactly the same as they are at the end of the movie. So the melody that you have, you should treat like a living thing. You know, melodies are like living beings. They should like change over time or change into different contexts, you know? Like shine a different light under it or over it, and it's going to change a little bit. So that's how I think about melody writing or riff writing or any kind of even chord progressions or anything. Like they should naturally change over time, but not be completely replaced or something, you know? And they should interact. You have multiple melodies, not just this melody. How about you have a bunch of different little melodies in your video game or something, and you can have them bouncing off of each other in so much cool ways. You know, that's how I just think about music. They're too busy being tortured poets in the tortured poets department. That's such a prescient comment. It's succinctly very well pointed out. The whole thing about poetry, you know, nothing I've been saying so far has been about the lyrics or poetry or anything, you know, because it is important. I do love writing words, lyrics, and stuff for my music and stuff. And poetry is wonderful, and like, you know, how people play with words and stuff. But like this kind of stuff, you can't replace it with pretty words, you know. If it's a boring melody, and a lot of rock has some of the most boring melodies ever. Single note melodies is what I call them. You know, it's like that's literally a single note over like 4 or 5 chords. You know, like a Rolling Stone. It's a great song, you know, whatever. But it's obviously not like great melody writing. A lot of rock songs, if you really pay attention, they use single note melodies, and it's not very interesting melodically. So I always like to make my melodies move, you know, up or down, or like a nice little pleasant thing, you know. I'm getting tired. I started ranting like crazy. I can't believe like so little attention is played to this sort of stuff. Like I got really into Satriani after the Strokes. Like I got into some like, I really like the Strokes like music, but there was only like 3 albums, so it's like, okay, I want to learn some more advanced guitar stuff, you know. So I got into Satriani and stuff. And the thing that hit me about Satriani is that it was so catchy. Those melodies were so catchy. Like listen to, I don't know, Anything off Crystal Planet or something. There's just tons of cool riffs and catchy music. Listen to Engines of Creation. You know, that's such a good fucking album. He's like, oh, this is like really good pop melodies, but pop music doesn't play this. Never been much of a lyric guy. I zone out so hard when I to hear words in a song. That's what I do. I don't really pay attention to a lot of the words in the songs. I kind of just zone out. It may take me like a couple of listens to really go, oh, that's what it's about. Oh, that's the words he's saying. It's not the first thing I listen to. I never really understood listening to music for the lyrics. A lot of the first music I loved was video game music off the NES box, the gray box in the living room. Was Eurodance stuff off of like, you know, God, it was stuff like, just like the stuff playing on sort of the radio, but not pop music, or at least not in America. It was sort of like, I don't know, Scooter or something. It wasn't really about the lyrics. A lot of them didn't have any lyrics at all. It was just sort of catchy melodies. I really like actually Nasaja. Like that's just a melody from Nasaja by Scooter or something. It's like, that's just like kind of a nice, cool melody, you know, it's played within this like big dance music or whatever. But it's like, there's melodies here that you don't get in like pop music on the radio. You don't get them from like these kind of dramatic, kind of big, kind of like techno, kind of Eurodance, kind of synth melodies that, and cool kind of chord progressions and stuff sometimes. A lot of times it was bad, but a lot of times it was like cool instrumental melodies. A lot of it, almost all of it was instrumental. And it was like, that was really bad, but just like, again, they would play chord progressions and kind of big melodies over them, you know, and kind of like in dance music. So I was really into that. And none of them had words most of the time, or just like random whatever. And if they did have words, it was still kind of cool. It was sung really nicely. It was like, what are some of those? We're in heaven. Baby, it's all that you want. Dying here in my arms. Baby, it's all to see. We're in heaven. That's the wrong chords. But like, again, there were these big kind of cool, anthemic, kind of very strong melodies. And I always loved that about, like, you know, dance music or whatever. What was the other song? What is it? DJ Casino or something? Oh God, it played at the end of Uncut Gems, and it was like, oh my God, I almost started tearing up because it was like such a, I forget how the song goes, but again, it's all these like big strong melodies that you don't really get outside. You don't really get in a lot of music. Definitely, like, you know, a lot of music popular at the time. So I really liked that. So I really got into really strong melodic instrumental music. That's what I really liked growing up. So I didn't really care too much about lyrics. I didn't really connect with the lyrics. I didn't really care what the musician was saying, because I knew it was the first time. I never really felt I connected with any kind of art on that kind of level. Like, I never felt like, oh, it's so me for real. Oh, he understands my, you know, they understand my feelings so well. I never once for a second thought anyone could understand me. So it was like, it wasn't really important to me. I didn't like seek out art trying to be like, oh, he understands my place in the world or whatever, anything like that. I was like, that's not, you know, that ain't happening. The first time that happened ever was when I watched Evangelion. I was like 18, 19, 20 or something. I think it was 19, 18. That's the first time I got that feeling from any kind of art. I didn't get it from anything. Any book I read, any song I listened to, any show I watched, any movie, nothing. I never got anything. Even the angsty emo stuff or the really, you know, ooh, I'm so misunderstood. I hate the I always hated that stuff. It was like, this is crap. This doesn't feel like anything, you know? Even Galeen was the first. Shinji's literally me. So music to me was entirely like emotional about the actual melodies, the actual music, you know? That's some old random remix of an old dance song I can't remember. Blush In and Out by Rocco Remix, I think. Again, this has these nice melodies all over the place. It's really nice and pleasant and stuff. And there's so much Satriani music, which is so catchy too, especially like, maybe not his latest couple albums, but earlier on, it was like all so catchy. Like written like good pop music, you know? But not lazy pop music, because on a guitar you can't just play the same note like you can't just play you can't play that on guitar. It would just be lame, like it's like, that's not a melody. You have to actually move the notes when you're on a guitar, you know. Maybe something like that, you know. You'd have to move the notes around, you know. So I always loved melodies like that where the notes move, you know, and a pleasant kind of contour, you know, like something like that. I love it when the notes move around, you know. So in a melody, that was a podcast theme again, you know. The Tortured Poet, written by Tortured Poets from the Tortured Poets Department. The department is so wow. So what was I saying? So yeah, that's like always the music that I really liked. If you listen to a Crystal Planet album, you know, it's just like there's full of just like good melodies, like you could kind of transfer a bunch of Satriani melodies to like a piano or a video game song, and it'd be like, oh, this is really catchy and stuff. And it's like the way he wrote his melodies. It was like A, B, like A theme, B theme, A theme, then a big chorus, then like, you know, like this nice, like, pleasant melodies. Like, you can't I should just be listening to a bunch of some of my favorite old music again to inspire me again. Like Love Thing is such a little catchy song, right? Super Colossal is such a fun album. The Extremist has a bunch of catchy songs. Surfing with the Alien, of course. Engines of Creation is probably one of his best. And it's such, like, again, fun songs. It's not just guitar stuff. And then his guitar stuff, what he would do is, like, he switched into different modes. He plays a lot of Phrygian dominant all over the place. He'd play, like, one solo would be, like, a few bars of E Phrygian dominant. Then he'd modulate up. Then he'd modulate up again. Then he'd be back at the start, you know? In different Phrygian dominant keys, or different, there'd be a Lydian solo section, there'd be this solo section, like Flying in a Blue Dream, you know? It's basically just... This is Flying in a Blue Dream by Satchi. It's all Lydian, because basically you're playing all the Lydian notes, basically. Then he goes a different little mixed Lydian chord for a bit. Then he goes like... I think what he plays is basically he plays like a G Lydian, F Lydian to C Lydian again, you know, to make the kind of chord progression work. And then in the solo section, he goes from like, he plays over the changes and plays a section in like a C Mixolydian for a bit to get some rocking kind of energy, you know. He just like does that so effortlessly. There's so much cool songs. I could talk about Citriani forever. I'll have to pull up like a list of like some of my favorite songs. Oh, Starry Night. Oh, Strange Beautiful Music is a really good album. That was really inspiring to me too. There's some really cool songs like The Journey and The Traveler. The Journey is a cool one. Hill Groove, that's such a fun song. Oh my god, it's so cool. So cool. There's such good melodies too. Mindstorm. It's such an infusion of like catchy melodies and like, you know, cool guitar riffs and fun like pop melodies with a lot of modal kind of experimentation, a lot of odd modes, a lot of modulations happening, cool stuff like that. Not a lot of fun chord progressions. You don't get like the big like cool chord progressions that I love from like, you know, sort of more, I guess, jazzier kind of music or like Japanese kind of pop, anime pop. So I really love kind of big chord progressions that you get from like, you know, cool chord progression changes that you don't really get from Satriani or whatever, but you get from other music, you know, you get from like video game music or a lot of Japanese music or Queen or a lot of cool like power metal. I love power metal. I was actually into Dragon Force. A big amount. The first 4 albums only, really. Especially the last one, the Ultra Beatdown. I think that has like, it's so, some parts are so bad, and it's like you could tell they were just not. I wish they would have learned a lot more kind of different kind of ideas, but you tell they were really ambitious. They're trying to make like 10-minute long power metal songs that were actually like different. That had a bunch of different verses and like different choruses and sections and stuff. And I was really a lot of very catchy melodies in that too. As ever world will save us tonight. Redemption is so far away. Crossing out. Just really simple melodies, nice melodies, big like kind of like chord progressions that kind of enliven the chords a lot. That was, I think, Through the Breaking Storm, Winter Storm or something. One song is like some of the like a bad pre-chorus. Like a lot of these songs, like, oh, I don't like that section, but I like that section. Oh, I don't like that section, I like that section. I just like that. I think one of the songs is what I forget the name. Lost Souls in Endless Time. It's like. I'm playing it wrong. Let's see. Let's That's such a nice melody, and it's like that would be nice in any instant, any genre, any whatever. It's just like a good melody. You could do a lot of cool things more with it, I think. Like, I think when it, you kind of misses by not being able to do the dun, 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 dun. You can like you can do so much more cool stuff with it, you know. So I really liked that for a while, just because it sounded like, again, like the melodies sounded like they were written in a specific kind of way that moved. No like single note, not too much single note melodies that were kind of boring. God, I'm just chit-chatting so much now about old music I liked. And then I got super into progressive rock. I got into Yes. Well, incredible stuff. Again, really catchy, really good melodies, really good arrangements. They're able to progress the songs a lot in a cool way. Like Starship Trooper has that little cool middle section that is so cool, or like Yours Is No Disgrace is like able to like transform the verses like 3 different times. I love that about it. Like, it's so magical. I'm yapping. I love yapping. I love yapping. Yap, 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 yap. Minmod. Oh. I'm supposed to wake up early. Okay, I'll just chit chat for a bit longer. So I really got into Yes. I really got into Dream Theater. I really loved Dream Theater for a while. I stopped God, has it been 10 years or something? Obviously, Images and Words is the only album I really listen to. I really come back to anymore. It was just a day early. That's true. That's a funny way of looking at it. So Dream Theater, Images and Words is such a great little super melodic album. Again, it's so fun to sing along to. There's a lot of fun melodies, and the verses are almost always changing a lot. Like even Pull Me Under, which is like, it has like 3 different variations of the verse, you know? Like the first time it's just like, was in disguise. It's just that one. Then the second time it plays, it says that incredible, cool thing. It's like, watch the stairs falling, there's no meaning to it all. And it's like a double time. It's the same verse idea, but it's such a completely different thing. And then the third time it plays, it's in like a blues riff underneath, a pentatonic riff at least. And it's like, and the singer's like, watching the skies. It's just a little different. It's a little different each time the verse comes back in. That reminds me of like Writing by Queen, where Brian would say, it's like, if the song doesn't sound different by the end, like if the third chorus doesn't sound different from the second, it's like, what are you doing? You have to add a little something. You have to add a little change, add a harmony, add a different instrument, add something different as the song is progressing, you know? And so I really liked how Dream Theater, so at least the Images and Words did that. A lot of their, you know, they changed a little, quite a lot as they went on. I guess there's still there's still a lot of songs I like by them, but, you know, I don't really listen to them much anymore. A lot of very inspiring things by them, of course. There's a lot of cringe things. I mean, there's so much cringe with Dream Theater, right? And then I got really into just like different kinds of progressive rock. I was listening to like everything from Prog Archives. I was every new album, every old album, and I really latched on to Fideaux, or whatever they're called, Doomsday Afternoon. Not so much most of their other albums, maybe number 7, but Doomsday Afternoon was a really good one. That uses some motifs in a really cool way. Just a couple, but just enough, you know? And I really loved Moon Safari. Moon Safari is still like my number 1 favorite band probably ever. Even if just for Blomel and Lover's End. Lover's End Part 3 too. Listen to Blomel by Moon Safari. They're like incredible pop writers, harmonies, arrangements. They're able to progress a song in such a cool way. Like when the song comes back after, like, you know, the verse comes back, it's completely changed. Like listen to Yasgur's Farm or Methuselah's Children, you know, the verse changes by the second time it comes back after the big instrumental section in the middle or whatever. And there's a bunch of different little sections. Like there's always like, You play the verse, you play the chorus, and there's an intro, and then there's another little section, and then there's another extra little bridge section, and then it references, maybe the bridge section references an earlier song, and then it plays some different instrumental sections, and then there's a little versal. There's always those little vocal sections in between that I really like. It's very much focused on the voice, not so much. The lyrics are important, but it's using the voice as an instrument in a very melodic way. It's always singing fun melodies that are fun to sing along to. I'm always super big on that. Like why I like power metal or why I like the Eurodance. It's not so much what the words are saying. The words are saying it's very important. I think each word in a melody, let's say like this, like if I'm singing that. The words I'm singing, especially for these important tones, should be important words, They shouldn't be like, I'm on the edge. I shouldn't be singing the word the on such a big word, And the song shouldn't be about, I don't know, it's a dramatic song, so the lyrics should be dramatic too. Like, obviously, lyric writing is important in that way, but they should always be matched with the melodies in important context. And he should be saying something, of course. Like, all those things are important too, but it's more like, well, if the melody is not interesting, I don't even want to say the words, The melody has to be there for me to want to say them. It gives me an excuse to write my lyrics, to say my lyrics. If it's just single note little melodies like a folk song, then I would have to really believe in what I'm saying. I have to be yapping, basically. And I feel like a really good melody gives my yapping an excuse, to sing them, a justification. A good melody justifies the lyrics that you're saying a lot more than lyrics can justify a bad melody, I think a good melody is always important, whether it's instrumental, whether it's really bad. Lyrics, like if the good melody is good, it's still good, if the lyrics are really bad, it's kind of a shame, but the melody can still be good. But a good melody is important all the time, I think, in music. But lyrics are important too, but I still take priority with the music. I'm getting a little tired now. I guess I talked about my whole musical history. After Moon Safari, and I was really into Beardfish too. Beardfish, Destined Solitaire by Beardfish is really good. But their melodies aren't quite as good, but they still have fun melodies too. Like Until I Can Fly, that's such a, there is a voice that's been following me throughout my life. Like that's a good melody, The first album by Mars Volta was really good melodies, and then their future albums are good too, but the melodies just aren't as catchy as on the first album. So I still think the first album is the best one, and most of the second album too, of course. But after I got into Moon Safari, I kind of stopped really following a lot of music. I stopped really listening to a bunch because a lot of them just weren't really giving me anything else. I kind of just kept going back to Moon Safari, Blommeljude. Even though Blommeljude doesn't have a lot of the things I'm also looking for. Like, it doesn't play with modes a lot. It doesn't play with a lot of other stuff I'm interested in. But at least it played with a lot of things that almost are completely absent in a lot of music, like a lot of layered vocal harmonies. And I felt like, well, after Moon Safari, I was like, well, all these other bands are just not following up, they're not, other genres aren't really offering me what I'm really looking for. And even Moon Safari wasn't really 100% what I wanted, because it wasn't quite heavy enough. It wasn't quite, it still was missing something, and I was trying to compensate for that by getting into some heavier music, again, like Mars Volta or something, a lot of jazz. Started listening to a lot of jazz fusion too, a lot of more complicated sort of textural music. I started listening to a lot of classical music too after. I mean, I was listening to a bunch of Mozart since way earlier, like when I started listening to Satriani and stuff. I downloaded a bunch of Mozart stuff, and I started like loving a lot of like sonatas and stuff. But the past like 5 years have basically been, I don't know, treading water, or 10 years honestly, in terms of really finding a lot of music that I really, 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 really love. I've had to just like go into like a lot of different kind of things. Like Alan Holdsworth is really interesting. I still really love Mozart and a lot of just classical music now and stuff. But I'm still looking for that, you know, that little special kind of music that like kind of that combines everything that I like, you know. So that's why I want to make my album. That's why I'm writing. I started writing my album. I started writing music like almost right when I got my guitar. I started writing songs or little riffs, little ideas. I started writing stuff. 2006 I started writing, so it was 20 years ago, I guess. That's depressing to think about. Oh, I love Cassiopeia. Yeah, Cassiopeia is really good. Mint Jams. This combines, again, that kind of really good melody writing with cool chord progressions, you know. That's what I love. Again, it would be cool for more modal stuff too, but it's like, you know, you get what, you know. Like Ayasake or Midnight Rendezvous. So good. It's cool riffs, fun melodies. Oh, that's what I love. I love all that kind of stuff. I hate things that are too static, you know. They don't just play the same note over and over again. And there's a lot of counterpoint going on. I love counterpoint. I love harmonies. I love, like in the live version of Midnight Rendezvous, the keyboard is playing a cool counterpoint little riff. It's not on the original album. It's one they developed, I guess, while touring, and they developed like it's like going against the bass, which is going up. And the keyboard is going down. So you have two melodies that are going opposite. Like, that's obviously not what it's actually playing. Like, I can't play it, but basically the idea is that you're counterpoint. You're doing 2 points that are intersecting in opposite directions, and I love that. I want to be able to write a fugue someday. I just gotta actually like get to it. I've never taken any formal music training, so any music school or anything like that. I really love writing like four-part harmonies, vocal harmonies. I really love writing all that kind of stuff. So I really wish more musicians would combine all these cool ideas into one. Like, you have counterpoint, you have four-part harmonies, you have modal stuff, you have cool chord progressions and modulations, you have really good melodies, and you have, I love guitar, I love rock, I love, like, you know, the big drama you get from drums and singing and stuff, that too, so, you know, I love that stuff. I even tried to listen to other power metal, but it was always it wasn't what I was looking for. I really wish there was a band that really offered everything. And I realized, well, that's not going to happen. It's got to, you know, I listened to everything. I listened to like 200 prog bands, and nothing really scratches that itch, you know, too much. So that's when I started really wanting to record all the music I've written. Motif stuff. That's so interesting. That's so important to me. It's not just good writing, good melodies. It's like you can write really good, I don't know, a long pop song, and every single melody is unique, but it's like that's not really good. That's not really ideal. You're going to burn out, you know? You're kind of it's not really useful for cohesion. Like, the reason why a song, you have verse chorus, is that, you know, you do recycle the melodies. So in an album, you should, I think, you know, you can do the same, you know, basically, or in a longer song, or in anything, like, you know, like, why are you just, I even think the chorus should reflect the verse melody in a different way. Like, you should have matching, you know, it's not just motifs and melodies, it's motifs and rhythms, in anything. Like the melody goes like, well, that's a chord. Da, 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 da. You can turn that into anything now, like, or that's like basically turning that chorus da, 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 into just a chord progression riff, like da, 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 da. And you can play a completely different melody over it. It doesn't matter. Like you can play like a completely whatever. You can play a different melody that references something else from a different thing, like da 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 da. And you can combine the two together. You know, there's so much things you could do with cool things that you could do with all this kind of musical ideas that sometimes you see peaks. Like sometimes you see it peeking through sometimes, like an artist sometimes does it, maybe with one melody or maybe with one kind of idea in like a big album or a song. But they don't really, I think they don't really go all the way with it. Do I want to go on? Okay. I've been yapping enough. Thank you for listening to me yapping to myself. I just keep like 40 tabs of albums I gotta listen to in my tabs and have a bookmarks folder of 1,000 more. Contrary motion, yes. Well, see, counterpoint isn't just contrary motion. Counterpoint can be way more complicated than that. Or like imitative motion as well. Or delayed motion. Delayed imitative in different keys. If you think about a fugue, it's basically playing, you know, you have the Aeolian, then the second one is going to be Phrygian, then the other one's going to be at an Dorian, Mixolydian. Like the different voices are basically playing in different kind of modes at the same time. And you have all kinds of different harmonies you can do with that. But there's so much cool things in classical music. The symphony form, the concerto form. I want to write like a rock concerto that's actually like concerto form, like, or sonata form. Sonata form is so interesting, you know? You do have a kind of A-B theme and then then different kind of developmental themes. The themes don't just play exactly the same. They play a bit similar, then you realize, oh, it's transforming the melody from the A theme a little bit, you know? And it's almost like video game music, you know, you have the A-B theme, and then maybe you get a power up and it changes. But it's like, well, you can do so much more with that a lot of people aren't really doing, you know? Sonata form is so interesting just in itself that, like, pop music can learn a lot from sonata form, you know? I guess you can think of the bridge as kind of a developmental section, but not really. I think the bridge is one of the most underutilized kind of musical thing in pop. And it's like, why does it even exist? You know, that's why they got rid of the bridges. Where's that compounded bridge? For me, in my songwriting, I started to turn the bridge into basically a bridge into a new song. I would turn the bridge into like a new verse, and then have a chorus to the bridge, and then have a bridge in that bridge, and then have that be a new section, maybe referencing the first bridge, so like a Russian doll sort of thing. And you can turn any of these different bridges or verses or choruses or interlocking sections into any kind of form. You can turn it into a cool harmony section or a cool anything, cool instrumental. You can do anything you want with instrumental. You can do like with vocal harmonies. You don't just need to do thirds. You can do little counterpoints with it. You can do some cool anything. Oh my God, there's so much possibilities with music. It's almost dizzying, you know? It's almost hard to write a simple song because there's so much you can do with it. So much that sounds so cool and stuff. I wish I could just spend my whole life writing music. That would be fun. I have so much songs in my head. I have so much songs written. I have so much songs. I learned about counterpoint in my college music theory class. It was kind of neat, but I don't know how much I'll use it beyond more basic concepts. I mean, yeah, I guess you can't really fit a fugue into a normal pop song, but Emerson, Lake and Palmer did, didn't they? They had a little, in their trilogy album, then they have a little fugue section in between the Endless Enigma. I think you can totally incorporate the ideas of counterpoint, like real, like, you know, species counterpoint. Or just the idea of our harmony doesn't always need to be playing in thirds, you know? You can make the harmony a different melody completely from the original. You can do the kind of old-fashioned kind of polyphony idea, or where it's not just playing, everything is playing in thirds all the time. You have one melody playing one thing, and you can have the harmony melody playing a different melody, independent melody, you know? You can do that sort of thing. And maybe that independent melody is a motif referencing something else, you know? That's such a cool kind of idea. You can do that, you know? And then maybe that independent melody is harmonized by thirds. And your own melody is harmonized by thirds too. And maybe there's some clashes, but since they're such good melodies on their own, they kind of work anyways. You can pan them left to right or whatever if you want. You can do all these sorts of things, and you can have the guitar doing something, a different riff underneath that's kind of playing with both of them at the same time. And you can have all kinds of cool melodies, and the lyrics are saying something important too, for like why are there two melodies happening at the same time? Well, maybe there's a conversation happening, maybe there's some introspection happening, maybe the characters like talking to themselves, maybe you have your own feelings, you're conflicted with your own feelings, so you have two feelings going on. Like, you can do all sorts of things with that. Maybe it's like a flashback, maybe it's so cool. You can do a memory. Lyrics are like so cool with that there's so much possibilities you could do with lyrics that you can't do with just notes alone. You can still do it really well, but it's like, well, how much lyrics really take advantage of the melodies they're playing with, you know? I think a lot of lyrics and a lot of lyricists, a lot of words in songs don't really take advantage of what they're able to do, you know? It's actually hard for me to write instrumental music too much, because I mean, I do all the time, but it's sort of like, well, I can really like punt, you know, really and liven everything up with lyrics. So it's sort of like, I do say lyrics aren't as important, but they're not unimportant, you know, completely. It's just because a lot of the time lyrics aren't too important in songs. They're so important that that's all everyone ever talks about with most music is the lyrics, but it's sort of like they're not that great, you know. If they were really great poet or something, they would be writing poetry, you know. Lyrics are sort of hampered or hampered or something by the fact that they do have to stick to the kind of words. I mean, they do have to stick to the lyrics, the melodies, and the melodies are usually not that interesting. So it kind of, you know, if you really want to have really good lyrics, you should have a really good melody to go along with it. I don't really think about lyrics. Maybe I should have taken some courses in the Tortured Poets department. See, it's like, I don't know. A lot of these pop lyricists, might have some good lyrics, but, you know. And usually when the melodies are really catchy, usually the lyrics are not very good. And sort of like, well, why aren't people doing both? You can have a really catchy song and also have really good lyrics at the same time. You don't need the catchy melody to have really kind of shitty lyrics or boring, you know, just like generic lyrics. You can do both. You can have both of them going on at the same time. Why not? Why not? Is it too much or is it too cheesy? I think people think catchy melodies are cheesy, so they don't like saying them. They don't like singing them or whatever. And when they are really singable, it's really simple melodies. It's really simple lyrics or something. So, you know, this is getting into weird lyric theory stuff, but I guess I'm really tired now. Oh, I'm so tired. I can't even play that song right. Oh yeah, Eurocamp opening absolutely just like steals the Jackson 5, which is great because the Jackson 5 songs are really good. I think about like I Want You Back like all the time. I Want You Back by Jackson 5, and maybe ABC's is a little too much, but what's the other song? Oh, and I feel not me at all. Baby, take it slow, and someday you'll be all alone. Baby, stop the way you listen me at all. Darling, take it slow, but I ain't want me. Whatever that song is. Motown is, Eurotown is a great job on stealing Jackson 5 music, because, you could do worse. I wish a lot more pop music sounded like Motown. Motown is really, really catchy, cool bass riffs. A lot of, you have the string sections adding counter harmonies and counter melodies. And you have a lot of vocal harmonies going on. You have the funk guitar. You have really catchy melodies. You have everything, with that kind of Motown sound. Really, really good. I really love, Once in My Life has such cool chord progressions. I still gotta learn it. For once in my life. No, once in my life. I think he did a lot of augmented chords and cool shifts like that. So cool, so cool. But oh yeah, Can't Stop the Love You Save. That's such a fun song. But I Want You Back more. I Want You Back has such cool interlocking riffs and stuff. Whenever there's a space in the bass or in the melody, something else is playing. There's a little gap. Whenever there's a gap, something is filling it. A little drum fill, a little thing in the background, a little thing on the side, a little vocal harmony, a little something. And whenever those are stopped, there's always something. It's always interlocking little. It's so cool. It's not that is always there's always something going on in your ears, and I love that. I want my music to feel that way too. There's always some cool thing going on. You hear that in Michael Jackson music too, with the drums. He would have all these kind of cool progressive tracks going on, 3 different drum tracks or whatever. But I really want that with harmony stuff. Moon Safari does really, really good with that. But they could have, I guess, a better rhythm or whatever. But they're just really, really good. But the Motown sound is really good because you have so much counter melodies going on, so much possibilities for there's the bass riff going on. You have the little vocal harmonies happening. You have the fun melodies da 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 da. And that's a nice. It's a nice little melody like that. It moves. It does That's only for the screaming, the shouting section of Stop the Save You Love, right? Stop the Love You Save or whatever. Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Oh, that's such a good melody, and like the bass guitar basically goes like. Dun. It's such like a fun, funky dun 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 dun. Like there's a lot of space in the bass, right? Like dun. I can't play it. I could play it better on guitar. Let me see. How does it go? It's an E. Stupid guitar stand. And then what does a guitar do? It goes like. Like there's all these different, like there's a string section, there's two different guitars, there's a little vocal harmonies you can add. There's all these like layers of stuff going on in this little pop song. It was what, a #1 pop song or whatever like that. Like it wasn't some classical song, it wasn't whatever song, it was a pop song. Like pop songs sounded a lot more interesting back then, just in terms of there's a lot more melody instruments or stuff playing different melodies or different little sections going on. You know, it's not just you have one imperceptible synth bass instrument. You have some kind of saw waves happening, you know, in the middle somewhere you can't really hear. They're not playing any kind of melody. And then you have the vocal singer just singing kind of really boring melody that's usually singing one note a lot. And the chord progression isn't really interesting. It's not changing chords often. It's just so boring, you know. Motown is more like anime music. That's why Eurocamp uses it. It's like it has that kind of, those kind of jazz harmony kind of ideas that you get from like a lot of anime music. They get from like Queen. That you get from the kind of this kind of like Royal Road progressions. You get it from like such cool. I don't know. Even fucking Moe Kai is such a good song. Like that's such a good fucking chorus. Like Moe da 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 la da 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 da. Like it's such a good little melody, and it's a very long melody. It like changes a lot. Da 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 da. Like that's different from how it started, which is da 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 da. But it's related. It's like. I think that's a da 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 da. That part of the melody also is da 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 da. Uses the same kind of like meta, like da 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 or whatever. I need to analyze it further, but it's sort of like it's a nice cohesive little melody. It's very like dramatic sounding. It has a lot of chord changes. It's obviously that standard kind of progression, but that's more interesting. There's almost no pop music which really uses that kind of progression in an interesting way right now, or it has a lot of energy to it. There's a lot of like cool guitar going on. The guitar riff in Moe Kai is really cool. It's like you have that kind of ska energy. Superman by Goldfinger is a really good song. Like literally listen to it. The guitar playing, the intro little it's they're playing like Motown. It's basically like a Motown song, a little punkified, a little like more heavy rock, but it's basically that same kind of Motown feeling as I Want You Back. Like I listened to Superman by Goldfinger. I get that same kind of idea as I Want You Back from it. It's such a cool, and it's almost the same idea of the melodies is these kind of very typical kind of chord progressions that are very kind of powerful, just like again the Pocket Bells Canon sort of chord progressions, and or like uses the same kind of little patterns that are really just really effective, really dramatic. You can have all the lyrics that you sort of play with these melodies will be a lot more, will be sold a lot better with over good melodies, you know? And it has cool riffs and stuff. I loved that song as a kid too. That was like one of the first rock songs I ever loved, I think. Before, because almost all the other rock songs I knew were like Linkin Park or like new metal stuff, which doesn't have this kind of melody writing. It doesn't have this kind of chord progressions or cool kind of stuff going on. I never liked new metal stuff, and that's what I thought rock was, because that's all rock was in the media then, before I got a lot of like internet stuff, or before I got into the Strokes. And Strokes was like, oh, these are like cool guitar melodies in the background. It's kind of laid back. It's almost written like video game music a little bit. You can really hear all the notes that the guitars are playing, you know, it's playing little riffs and stuff, like it was playing little riffs like that, or like cool little solos or whatever. But something like, you know, all these kind of cool pop songs, you know. I really love pop a lot, but I don't like most pop because they're not really that kind of pop genre. I like the kind of melody writing I write, the kind of I like the kind of chord progressions I like, the kind of things I like from it, like Motown, or kind of, I guess, older diva pop. It was very Motown inspired. Like I really like, what song do I really like? Can't worry, love. Oh, you just have to wait. I love that song. Love don't come easy. I love that kind of like cool, nice little melodies going on. I love those kind of songs. Or I really love Too Loud to Right. What is that song? That's very Motown-y too, you know? It's oh God, what does it go? Oh, Aileen. Come on, Aileen. That's such a good pop song. That has like modulations in it too. Has a really good chord progression. Really stretchy melody. The melody goes a lot of places. It's, really fun. I really wish like I listen to songs like this, like really good pop songs, and I sort of like I can progify this. I can like turn this maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe have a bridge section which like references an earlier chorus, maybe brings like an instrumental melody together at the very end and plays different melodies together, like Tula, Hey There, I know, Hey There Delilah, Come on Aileen. I really wish like they would bring up that original violin melody they played with the which is also the ending of Super Mario Bros. 3. I really wish they would play that, but also and also play the Tula Dula Re melody, the rising little melody, over that kind of chord progression. So you could do like something like that. You can do such cool things with it. Like you can play, you can kind of bring that kind of Phrygian dominant sound into it again too. You can do so much cool things with combining different motifs together. Even a little pop song, and that's what Bohemian Rhapsody was so like, you know, beloved for. It like brought things together in a little bit, just for bringing back little melodic ideas. You can just bring people to tears. You can like do the Wall, Pink Floyd, The Wall. That had the one little motif was good enough, you know. You can, how about if you expand on that, you know? E-og to E6 to E7, 8. Let's try that. Let's see, Build Me Up Buttercup has so much good things too. Like, look at this. What is this? It's Phrygian dominant again. There's a Phrygian dominant in a Motown song. Think about that. And then it does And then there's Ionian to basically C mixolydian kind of, or like, you know, with using the C7, and then bringing it to obviously to the F. Then the F minor, you know, the F minor, beautiful minor subdominant. You can do, like, there's so much cool big drama happening here with the dun 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 dun, and that's so much drama in just a standard little, you know, a Motown chord progression. It's so cool, so cool. It has all these sevenths and sixes and augmenteds and chromatic lines, just like what is the line in Super Mario Brothers 3? Like what? You have the chromatic lines going on. Where are the chromatic lines in modern pop music? Why isn't anyone playing these kind of cool chord progressions? There's so much cool chord progressions you can play. So much cool melodies you can play. You can play so much cool music. There's so much cool music at our fingertips. Why aren't like bands playing them? Like why isn't, you know, the kind of chord progressions that incorporate like kind of like old jazz sort of things, like that's kind of the same thing as basically like it's the same kind of ideas, you know, but nobody's really playing with that chord progression anymore. And it's like this perfectly fine chord progression. I wrote some songs with it, and it's like, it's so useful, you know? I don't know why people aren't really playing these songs anymore. I'm trying not to sound like fucking Beato. It's more, I think if people understood the theory behind all these kind of chord progression modes and different kind of functions and modulations, there'd be a lot more, maybe some interesting music out there. Math rock is really cool. Again, I wish they would feel like they could take a lot more from maybe prog or a lot of other things. I think they could do a lot more with different instruments and stuff. Maybe rock is too limiting, like but some of them do some cool things with, like, you know, different like trumpets and different kind of alternate instruments, which is really cool. I guess from the kind of emo or ska influence. Some Japanese math rock is really cool. Again, and nothing I've been saying is really about time signatures. I'm not super interested in time signatures too much. It's not something like if you make a song in an awkward time signature, I'm not like gonna like the song more. It's more like what sounds natural for the song, because sometimes 4/4 isn't going to be a good fit for the melody. Sometimes you're going to need different time signatures. I still would like more interesting melodies, you know. Friggin' the Bocce the rock band had some pretty cool songs. I really like the no bando da 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 da. Like this, like, you know, cool little melodies like that are interesting. I like that the guitar was always really active during Bocce the Rock songs. The guitar is always doing something cool. That's again filling up this kind of like have cool stuff to listen to while you're listening to a song. You just want to listen to like a drum just doing nothing, and then the singer kind of doing nothing. Those are like good for effects, like if you need a section like that, but it shouldn't. I don't know. I'm listening to a song. I kind of want to listen to notes. I want to listen to music, you know? So math rock really gives me a lot of that sometimes. I still think there's a lot more that could be done with math rock. I listen to quite a lot of it now. I think my first foray into it was Rooftops or something. That was a pretty good album. You could tell they have a lot of prog influence and stuff, and a lot of other influence. But I still think a lot of jazz. Obviously, they love the fucking major sevenths and math rock. They love fucking major sevenths. I love all the tapping stuff too. It's a cool little effect. I still think there's still something missing from it. Technically, I think I still love prog a lot. I love the Yes. The Yes album is like, you know, close to the edge, of course, too. But Yes album, Fragile, like all those kind of classic Yes albums. I still think that's like such a peak, you know. I love math rock sounds too. I love the math rock, just like instrumentation is really, really good. I want to be able to write that way too. Like how they get their drums to sound really cool, and the guitars, of course, too. There's usually a lot of stuff happening for your ears to latch onto, so that's great. They could do, I don't know, is there like, there should be like, what is it, what, Melt Banana? That was pretty cool too. That's not math rock though, but you know, there's tons of cool music out there. I still think there should be something that incorporates a lot of these kind of different ideas together. Pretty crazy for the guitar lines for that soundtrack. Yeah, Anno Bando, that was really good. Anno Beato. Beato Bando. Like, I love how even during the verses, like, the guitar is always playing some kind of counter melody or some kind of cool riff. Like, more guitar rock should be written like that. Like, if you're in a rock band, why isn't your guitar fucking doing anything, you know? You should be doing something cool with your guitar. Something, or some other instrument, you know? Something should always be happening. You press a button, something cool happens, you know? The BioWare aesthetic, you know? We want the Call of Duty audience, you know? I think there's enough mood music out there in the world right now. I still want some more active music, you know? There's enough texture, cool textures, like, oh, this background ambient sound, you know? It's like, that's cool, but I kind of want some notes, you know? I'm not Polyphia. Polyphia is okay, but again, there's not really anything there in terms of harmonic harmonies or cool chord progressions. Like, have they ever written a really cool chord progression? A lot of the time, I was hearing 1, 4, 5 in minor. Almost a lot of the songs. There's a lot of rhythm stuff there, which is very, very cool. It's really cool to hear all the interlocking rhythms in your ear as they pan from like guitar to drum to bass, and all the cool like all that kind of, that's super cool. How about like if you had that kind of rhythmic complexity, it would be so cool to combine that with harmonic complexity too, you know? Like bring it all together. That would be really cool if you had a band that was able to do that, you know? And also more major key stuff. I think Polyphia, almost all modern prog, almost all, a lot of math rock stuff. Well, not too much math rock actually. Actually, that's unfair. Too much modern music is in minor key. I want some more major key stuff, and not fucking fake major key where it's like. That chord progression's okay, but it's not major enough. It's a little too middling. It's a little too not enough actual motion going on. Like it's going from the 5 to the 6 without even like use the fucking Christian dominant chord. Fucking use it, you know? It's like you have it. Why not use it? There's not enough cool harmonic tension going on in music. I think I listened to, what is it, Mitski? Mitski had some interesting chord progressions. They're very non-functional, though. A lot of cool chords happening, but not very functional. Sometimes I'll hear a really good chord progression in a modern pop band or whatever. And it's like they don't know what to do with it. Like they land on a dominant at some point, and then they bring it to like the 3 or something. It's like, what are you doing? That's not... And they kind of just... They don't really know how to write chord progressions. They don't really know how to utilize the tensions properly, you know? Pretty difficult focus on playing and singing and playing complex sound at the same time. That's true, of course. Well, that's why Bocce doesn't sing, right? So you should have multiple instrumentalists. I think more bands should have keyboardists to actually play, because keyboards basically let you have they let you play any instrument. They can let you play a soundtrack. You can play any music now once you have a keyboard in. I think of that like a little cheat code, you know. At least 2 guitars or something. If you're gonna make like a rock band, obviously this costs more money. This is a whole thing. Like, well, rock bands, I don't know. Can they even exist anymore with how everything is now? Like, what's the point of a rock band? That's why I don't really care about rock specifically. I do like rock music a lot, but I think this is such a Beato rant right now. I even started tried out ABBA recently for the first time. It's like super incredibly perfect kind of produced pop music, you know. Still, when I was listening, it's like, oh, I wish there was some more electric guitars and stuff and cool guitar stuff. I can't get that away from me, you know. So cool music. I forgot what the thing band I was listening to. I don't really listen to a lot of rock music. I don't like go, oh, what's the top 10 rock music of the world right now or something. I never do that. I don't listen to any of that kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of classical, jazz fusion. Chick Corea is really, really interesting. We listened to some Chick Corea band. A lot of cool Cassiopeia-ish stuff. If you like Cassiopeia, you might like Chick Corea. Not as like super catchy, but a lot of the same kind of aesthetic. You can tell he really liked a lot of different kinds of music too. He combined like a lot of like, different elements. Like he liked progressive rock. He made medieval Romantic Warrior. That album, that was basically him. He did a bunch of different projects. So he liked progressive rock. He liked classic. He did Mozart. He covered Mozart, a bunch of stuff. So it's like he liked that kind of stuff. He liked a lot of my own favorite kind of influences he liked too. So that was cool. Chick Corea. He even made his own like jazz standards, Armando's Rumba, which is one of my first jazz songs that I liked, Armando's Rumba, years and years ago. I really liked it. Just like heard some things on YouTube. I was like, oh, this is a really cool little melody. Cool little melody like that. I forget how the rest of the song goes, but it's a very cool, dramatic, like, did it. I can't play. I'm so tired. It's like 2 o'clock. Oh my god. Spain Goes So Hard. What is this song? Mushroom King or something? Not Mushroom King. There's so much cool songs of his. Holdsworth, just for... Holdsworth doesn't have, unfortunately, a lot of his songs aren't great, but it's like that kind of idea of matching the chord with a mode is just how I think about a lot of music now too. It sort of opens it up. Well, you go from C to D minor. Well, it's like you don't need to stay, this doesn't need to be Ionian, this doesn't need to be Dorian. You can kind of make this any kind of major, any kind of minor now, you know. That's just that kind of thinking. It kind of just opens up a lot. Or any kind of anything. You can make this into major, you know. I also love that kind of, what is that? love that chord progression too. So what is it?
Down inside there, everyone's voice, groove and magic, da 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 da. Ooh, I love you, baby, 'cause I know it's true.
Oh, I sang that melody wrong, but you know, it's the same.
You sound so honey, what you want and you, fuck you.
People love that chord progression. You don't really hear it too often. You heard that in that one song, you know. I think people really like these catchy chord progressions, catchy little melodies, you know. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it, Ekamuraka. Okay, guys. Gambate, gambate. This is my little rant. This is just supposed to be like an hour-long stream. Thank you, everyone, for donating before. Like, seriously, thank you. It saves my ass. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. If anyone's not followed, hit that follow button. I always feel bad, like, oh, I was supposed to stream yesterday and the day before. I was like, okay, I'm going to do another Final Fantasy VIII stream. And I just didn't. I didn't have the energy. I guess I used this stream just to basically rant about music stuff, because I haven't been able to do a music theory lesson for a while. I probably won't be able to for a little while. So I just got a lot of stuff off my chest, at least. The next lesson will still be relative modes and chords. I'll start with chords a little bit. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. I got like a Twitch payout as well, like with the donations. I was like, oh, that's relief. That's relief. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for just paying attention to anything I do. Whenever I get too ranty on Twitter. Thank you for bearing with me. I know it's cringe, but thank you. Thank you for following and liking my tweets. I like my silly jokes I make. And for watching Heavenly Delusion. God. I want to start reading some books again. Because I read a few, like, Kurt Vonnegut books on, like, a long transit ride. And that was it. Like, I don't know. I don't have time for anything right now. Once I finish my album, I get to read. I'm working on new stuff. I have so much music. I have, like, 7 albums to record. Oh boy, I'm tired. Breakfast of Champions is a fun one. I never actually read that one. I only read Cat's Cradle and Mother Night. I didn't really like Cat's Cradle that much, actually. You can tell they're written almost very, very similarly too. So once I do read Champions, I hope it's a little interesting. Mother Night was very funny though. I want to read Les Miserables. That would be really cool. I have a Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. I want to read. I can't pronounce it, so I didn't bother. It's Dostoevsky. By John Doe. You know, I really want to. Crime and Punishment by John Doe, you know, I want to read. Dostoevsky. I've never heard these words pronounced in real life, so I don't know. Just like Phrygian, like, I didn't know how to pronounce that word, the Phrygian. I didn't know how to pronounce it, so it's like I always pronounced it wrong because I only ever read it. Same with, I would think about, I read a lot of comics as a kid. Like I would get the Garfields or Asterix and Obelisks or Tintin from the library as a kid. And they always say sigh, like a sigh. They would always write out sigh. And it's like, well, I had never heard anyone say the word sigh before. So I would just say it with a hard G, sig. It's like, I don't know what that means, but that's a word. It's so funny. Like books don't teach you how to pronounce pronunciation, you know?
Dostoevsky. That second Dostoy. But where does that stoy come from? Because it's already with the ev, right? Dodsto isn't Dosto. I think of Dosto, not Dostoy. I guess I'm just bad at reading English, you know. The famous English writer, John Dostoevsky. Well, the Melody to Twilight by ELO is so good. Like, think about that. Yeah, the Mixolydian, just like sing chorus. Same chords actually as Build Me Up Buttercup, exactly as the second half of that chorus. And now it goes. It goes that minor thing. It's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. That's why I write using those kind of things all the time. All those kind of cool harmonic tricks I only get from like that kind of genre. Freaking Beethoven symphony does sonata does like. It basically plays. Plays like C Lydian. Yeah, it actually plays it keeps the C. So it's a D7 obviously, but it feels like a Lydian because it and then it does it again half a step down. And then you think, oh, is this gonna be the same? No, it changes this F to F minor. And that's so cool. What does it do after? It goes to the G. And I think it plays with the kind of harmonic minor, something with that. I don't know. I didn't look at it too far ahead. It's such a cool little chord progression. It's like, that's like Motown kind of chord progressions. You know, this isn't a classical song in, 200 years earlier? You can find these everywhere. In the first Sonata 332, I think, by Mozart, it starts with this. What is this? It's like a Motown chord progression. I'm not playing it well because it's a Motown chord progression. It's playing like the F, the Ionian, but then doing the sevenths and doing the 2 to the 4, the thing. It's such a cool little progression. It's like you don't really get that. You don't get that. You get that in classical music, you know. You get the same kind of fun chord progressions all the time. People listen to some sonatas. It's really fun music everywhere. A lot of it. I love the Mozart violin and piano sonatas the most, I think. Piano concertos too. His piano concertos are really good. So if you're listening to Mozart, listen to the violin, piano, and violin sonatas, piano sonatas, and piano concertos. Those are, I think, some of his best. Not his symphonies as much, except maybe the last 2 or 3. Symphonies weren't really a big thing until later on. Concertos are basically a symphony plus a solo instrument, so they're basically twice as long and twice as cool. You always have like a piano in the center, playing with the same melodies, playing around with them and developing them differently. Mozart's clarinet concerto is super, super, super good. Very catchy. Something you hear in like a Pokemon game theme. The Pokemon game music is really good too. Sorry this is going on so long. I just love yapping. Can't believe 10 people are still listening to this at 2:30 and 2:30 at night after 3.5 hours. I'm sorry it's been so long since I streamed last, but that modes can create. This is Dorian. I didn't really do Dorian justice in my last lesson, but it's super good. In jazz, basically Dorian is the default rather than Ionian, you know? It doesn't have to be jazzy. It's like you can make it sound religious. I think Final Fantasy X uses it a lot, mixed in with that kind of Eastern sounds. So you get the kind of fusion in such a cool way. A friend who really, really loves Final Fantasy X kind of informed me of all this. It's super cool. Like, it doesn't need to sound jazzy, you know? Roundabout is in. Ah, my throat is parched. Okay, I think I'm all talked out now. I probably had a billion different tangents there. Everyone, thank you for listening. I don't think I can rate anyone right. Oh my god. Oh, I want to talk about Undertale too. Undertale kind of inspired me to realize like you can have riffs, cool melodies, modal stuff, motifs all happening at the same time, you know? So hopefully more musicians really learn from it. Yeah, I'll just say good night. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Oh, yeah. Lydian. It's Lydian.